Hey guys and welcome to the channel. Today I will be doing a what if, which is what if Deku became a demon slayer part 2. I did not make this what if fan fiction. The author of this amazing fan fiction is Lorenzo J10, so please support their work. Chapter 11, Assault on Mt. Sagiri. The heroes stood there in silence, some preparing themselves for a fight. It was clear to them that the woman in front of them was not joking and was fully prepared for a fight. Though this was lost on the interns. "Wow, that's kinda of a stupid move," said Nijire, not reading the situation. "Nijire," said Lemillion with urgency in his voice. Even though he had to admit this girl didn't seem like a threat, he could tell by the other heroes to be prepared. "Let the pros handle this." "Why are you being so uptight? We got the top 3 heroes here," she said, holding up 3 fingers. "And we outnumber her by a lot." Tomo stood there watching the 3 interns. "So these are heroes." For a moment I thought the Yakuza may have found us. I recognize a few from Izuku's notes, but that doesn't change anything. They shouldn't be here. Excuse me, miss," said Hawks, trying to be as friendly as possible. "We are heroes and I don't care. Leave. Look, we are just trying to leave. Miss, if you could give us a leave now," she said, getting more frustrated. "This is private property. None of you have been permitted to be here. Leave now and I will forget this transgression." Hawk stood there not sure what to say next and tag out, so All Might gave it a try. "Ma'am, we have reason to believe that." "Do you have a warrant?" I beg your pardon. Do you have a warrant?" she said, making sure every word was understood. "Unless you have a warrant, you are not allowed to be here, and if we have any issues, we will deal with them ourselves." "Do you own this land?" spoke Gran Torino, stepping forward. "If not, then can you bring us the one who does? My master is currently indisposed at the moment and I speak on his behalf." "What is that old man getting at?" "He's clearly fishing for information," she thought, looking at the group. "Some of them look like I can convince to leave, but this old man has a look that shows otherwise." "Same goes for All Might and the one in glasses," she thought. It was true, some of them realized that they don't have a warrant and they had no real cause to be here. None of that matters. Soon I'll have each of them tagged. I'll teleport them once I do. Tomo began to prepare to move. "Today is a big day for us here and I don't have time to play with any of you. So just this once I'll allow you to leave. So turn around and leave. So just to make sure, for 200 years your master has owned this mountain." Tomo narrowed her eyes at Gran Torino. "What is he doing? Does that matter?" All Might, Gran Torino and Night I all had the same thought. It's him and he's still injured and can't move. It's now or never. Time to end this, but first I have to at least try to break through to this girl. "He's a monster," he pleaded. "Look, I don't know what your connection with your master is, but he is evil. He is a monster who would leave you behind in a heartbeat. He doesn't care for you in the slightest. So please step aside and let us deal with that demon." Tomo stood there wide-eyed, staring directly at All Might, letting his words sink in. She then quietly spoke. "Monster. Tomo, be careful," as he wrapped her finger. "They may be flowers, but they still have thorns. Evil." "It's Monday," he said, working in his lab. "Sorry, Tomo, I was caught up in my work. I was successful in increasing the drug's power. Now nerve transplants should be easier than ever." Doesn't care, putting a hand on her medallion under her kimono. "Okay, Tomo, you can take the blindfold off." When she did, she saw a stunning kitchen and on the counter were 10 brand new kimono and accessories. She stood there staring at all of it before turning to him and mouthing how. I have a friend who can teleport things. Sorry, I'm terrible at buying gifts. Since you've been cooking so much, even for me, I thought a more updated kitchen would work, but that seemed a little selfish. I'm getting you a kitchen so you could cook more, so I bought you some other stuff. I guess I was just unsure of what you wanted, so I bought everything I could think of. Demon, as veins visible popped up around her eyes. She knew what he was, but she also knew this was an insult. Tomo convinced Yoshiro to take a break. Thank you, Tomo. Sorry to drag you all the way down to South America. When I heard about the largest earthquake of the century, I had to come and help. This was definitely an all-hands-on-deck situation. Tomo reminded him of the amount of lives he saved today. Yes, while that is true, I wish I could have done more. I like to work in the background because I save more lives in the long run, but at times like this I wish I was here sooner. Tomo tried to keep her voice as calm as possible, but the utter rage on her face was clear as day. You have trespassed on private property, and I'm well within my legal right to beat you to death for it. So before we get started, tell me, All Might, do you have a successor yet? Successor, said Fat Gum as he and several other heroes were clearly confused. All Might, how about we calm down, said Ryukyu, you've clearly pissed her off. Does it matter, said Endeavor, if this girl is foolish enough to think she can take us all, then it's her fault. But she also has a point with the warrant, said Mandalay, with the other pussycats agreeing with her. We aren't supposed to be here. Though none of these reasons reached All Might as he continued to stare at Tomo in silent anger. I'll take your silence as a no, then. Part of me was hoping he would say yes so I could cut loose. Wow, he has really pissed me off. I want to beat the crap out of him, but it looks like I'll have to keep him functional for his hero duties. One chance, apologize now while you can still move your jaw. All with a smile on her face. If that's how it is, then prepare yourself, villain. All Might got into a fighting stance. Whoa, said Hawks, flying between the two. Let's chill out for a second, you all make some valid points, but Hawks was unable to finish as a ball was shot from the tree line and hitting him right in the face. A Temari ball.
Oh my god.
Before any of the heroes could act, several Temari balls came flying from the tree line behind Tomo. Each of the heroes tried to dodge but quickly found it difficult as they began to curve in the air. Tiger had to hit them away. Look out, they're homing. Even those who could fly had a hard time dodging the balls. We have to get her, as he charged Tomo, who in return raised her hand, making a slow swiping motion causing Tiger to spin down the hill. Hawks saw this and got an idea of her quirk. The balls themselves aren't her quirk, she must have some sort vector controlling quirk. All Might smash 5 Temari balls. I'm ending this, as he made a jump at Tomo. She didn't move a single muscle as he flew through the air. Everyone looking thought he would crash into her, but he didn't, as he suddenly hit an invisible wall centimeters in front of her. An invisible wall. She has more than one quirk. Tomo smiled as he showed her hands, one with a ring in it and another with what appeared to be a seashell. She raised the one with the ring a little higher. Impact transfer. Before shoving the seashell through the invisible wall. When the shell connected to All Might, he felt a massive force hit him from the seashell, sending him flying down the hill. What was that? Said Pixie Bob. What did she do? Ryukyu saw and still didn't understand the girl's quirk. Okay, my turn, as she turned into her full dragon form. Before she could even roar or get close, Tomo began to play a pan flute. What is she? As several vines shot from the ground wrapping around Ryukyu. She can control plants. I can't break out, these aren't normal vines. Ryukyu, I'll get you out, said Nijire as she began to blast the vines with her quirk. Fat Gum tried to help rip the vines up, but his strength wasn't cutting it. It became quite clear to him that they underestimated this girl. Night Eye, we need to figure out her next move or else we're all going down. He yelled at Night Eye as Endeavor and Burnin sent a torrent of flames at her. A Chinese mirror appeared in her hands, and as the flames made contact it was absorbed in the mirror. She quickly did the same with Hawk's feathers before pointing the mirror at the other heroes as flaming feathers shot out of the mirror. Gran Torino tried to take advantage of this and maneuver behind her. She pulled out the hilt of a blade as a beam of pink energy came out like a whip in Gran Torino. It didn't hurt him but slowed down his movement into a crawl in mid-air. As he came in for a very slow landing, her hilt changed to a weird snake staff as a black arrow appeared under Gran Torino. When he made contact, he was also launched down the hill. Fat Gum moved as quickly as he could and caught Gran Torino before he made a crash landing. I gotcha. He looked up to see the girl with a rapier in hand and Endeavor and Burnin trapped in ice. This is not going well. Gee, I think I said Torino. Night Eye, we need something now. They looked over to Night Eye just standing there. Night Eye? His sidekicks were by his side. Sir? While Tomo was countering each of their moves, Night Eye was seeing something else entirely. She isn't moving, as blood began to come out of his eyes, causing his friends to call for him. When Night Eye activated his quirk, all he could see was Tomo just standing there on top of the hill. Not moving, not doing anything. Just standing. What's wrong with Night Eye? Said All Might, finally getting his bearings after being thrown. I don't know, said Bubble Girl, panicking. Centipeter looked as Endeavor broke out of the ice, with a knocked out Burnin whom he put down and charged again with Hawks trying to back him. She seems to have multiple abilities, maybe one of them is doing this to Sir Night Eye. Gran Torino agreed with the assessment. As Endeavor fired fireballs and Hawk's more powerful feathers at the girl, who simply batted them away with a fan and countering with icicles. We need to take her out, but she got more tricks up her sleeve than Houdini. We need a plan. Think of one side, All Might. I'm going to stall her, as All Might jumped back into the fray. After Tomo made both Hawks and Endeavor bounce back with a floating green shield. All Might, wait. That stupid brat. GT turned to the other. As Night Eye dropped to his knees. Interns, stay with Night Eye. The rest of you have any ideas? I have one, said Bubble Girl. With a mighty roar, All Might tried to attack Tomo, only to have her raise her again once more, this time with a green ring on her finger. This ring glowed and produced a wall for All Might to punch. All Might kept punching until it began to crack, though this just made Tomo smile. In brightest day, in blackest night, I will eradicate you from my sight, as she turned the wall into a giant fist, smashing All Might into the ground. Hawks and Endeavor tried to back him up, only to be pushed into the ground by an unknown force. They looked to see her hold a red ribbon in her hand. Don't worry, I'm only adding pressure, it shouldn't be enough to crush your organs. Now that I've calmed down a bit and humiliated them a bit, time to teleport them away. Ha, a bubble. As she then was surrounded by a huge wave of bubbles.
Insane.
She quickly became unable to see any of her surroundings. She could hear a bit and guess they had her surrounded. She brought out a yo-yo and began swinging it over her head in a circle. Lightning began to crack on the yo-yo, popping all the bubbles. She was a little too slow as the heroes moved. First Centipeter jumped in front of, freaking her out. Gross. I hate insects, as she held her hand out, now holding a pendant. That began to spin, making an impossible air pressure, blowing him away. She then quickly turned, pulling out a giant ring with an emerald on top. It grabbed Fat Gum and made him rounder as she threw him at Bubble Girl and Tornio, who were too close to dodge. In a flash she brought a pole out that extended right into Tiger's gut. Unfortunately he grabbed it, forcing her to ditch the weapon. She lost her first weapon. She then had to sidestep Mandalay's attack to her side. She quickly countered by grabbing her right gloved hand and fire-kicking her in the side, taking Mandalay's glove. That was the first time she has had to move and the first physical attack she's made in this fight. Though this fight was hardly over, she spun around to see several earth monsters surrounding her being created by Pixie Bob. She quickly pulled out her coin, stopping all the earth movements around them. In the 1 second of confusion for Pixie Bob, Tomo summoned a chain from her sleeve, wrapping it around Pixie Bob's left hand. She then whipped the chain, sending her into Mandalay and taking Pixie Bob's left glove. As Tomo looked down on her opponents, enough was enough. Enough, this ends now. You have absolutely no hope of beating me, said Tomo as she put Mandalay and Pixie Bob's gloves on her hand. Shivering a little. Gross. Hey, give those back, said Pixie Bob. Those belong to the... She stopped when she noticed the earth monster she made began to move without telling them to move. What the... I'm not doing that. Now how does this work? Everyone heard Tomo's voice in their head. That's my quirk, shouted Mandalay. Oh, I get it, one-way telepathy, said Tomo as she began to wiggle Pixie Bob's glove, causing the earth monster to jitter a bit. These things are harder to move than I thought. How in the hell do you have our quirks? Tomo smiled as she reached down and picked up one of Hawk's discarded feathers. Now that we have a bit of a pause, I realized I never introduced myself. My name is Tomo and you can call my quirk RE quirk. The second she said, a pair of pink wings sprouted from her back. As you can see, my power allows me to use the abilities of others. If I have a bit of their DNA, i.e., that man's feather, or B, have something that the person has held onto for a very long time. Something personal like a necklace, a weapon, or in this case some gloves, as she flexed the gloves. I can even use the quirks of people who have long left this world. Thanks to my master, my collection is quite big. Though what she didn't mention was the fact that she can't keep using the same quirk too many times in a row, or else she will become exhausted quickly. She's somewhat able to get over this by using the same quirk through different items. Throughout the battle she has been switching her teleportation pendant with other ones. Another problem she has is that her body isn't built to withstand or use other people's quirks, so the drawback is much worse for her. This is all possible because she is drawing power from something more than just quirks. Something demonic. I will admit that I don't have as much experience as a lot of you, she continued as she scanned her stunned audience. But I outgun all of you 10-1. Now I will give you all one last chance to. As she was making eye contact with each of them, she noticed one was missing. As she turned very close to her was Ragdoll. Ragdoll was there when they had surrounded Tomo. Ragdoll did something she shouldn't have. She tried to use her quirk on Tomo. Ragdoll's quirk search. Search allows her to track up to 100 people at a time and learn people's strengths and weak points. As she tried to use her quirk to find a weak spot, she saw something else. Tomo didn't have a weak point. She had something else. Something that made her freeze in place. Now they were staring at each other. Or was he looking at her? Does she have a quirk that can see it? Thought Tomo as she sent the gloves and feather to her armory. She slowly began to walk towards Ragdoll, who just stood there shaking in fear more and more as Tomo got close. Then Ragdoll began to cry blood and began to pour out of her nose. Ragdoll screamed the pussy cats as they rushed to help their friend, only to meet an invisible wall. The other got up ready to help, only to stop when an ear-piercing scream filled the air. The heroes turned to see Night Eye clutching his head as blood came out of his eyes and nose as well. He stared at Tomo, she stared back as well, but Night Eye didn't see her. He saw something more demonic, something truly evil, a man. Not an ordinary man, but a man that filled every part of his body with fear. He didn't know why this man was so terrifying, but he was. Tomo looked at them both. So they both have quirks that are strong enough to see him. I guess I have been using it a little too much, thought Tomo. It looks worse than it is, but I should knock them out and get them some medical attention. Hold it. The new voice, getting her attention. She turned to see the three kids who have so far stood on the sidelines failing to free the dragon. They had moved and were on this side of the invisible wall. They were currently posing ready for a fight. Okay, I'll bite. Who are you three supposed to be? I'm Lemillion. This is Sun Eater and she's Nijire-chan. The three of us are heroes in training and we're going to be the ones to defeat you. Tomo gave them a look of disbelief. She looked over the other heroes. The dragon was still trapped, the girl with fire hair was still out cold, two of the heroes were currently experiencing a nightmare, and the other heroes had taken a few good hits. The top three heroes looked the worse. I just went 10-1 with the pros over there and I'm still standing with barely any dirt on my kimono. What do you three think you could do? I mean, one of you looks like you're going to piss your pants, she said, pointing to Sun Eater. Lemillion put his hand on his friend's shoulder, reassuring him. Don't worry, remember the plan. Lemillion then turned to Tomo. The reason is because I will beat you with my all-powerful quirk, he said with total confidence. Oh. Okay, I get it. You have some amazing quirk that was overpowered at birth and you think it's strong enough to beat me. Tomo would later deny that beating the other heroes may have gotten to her head. When it most definitely did. Oh, I don't think it will beat you. I know it can, he said as he began his charge. Nijire, Sun Eater, let's go. This is why the foolish die young, she said as she threw some stones on the ground that turned into mini golems, dogs with purple markings. Sun Eater quickly turned his fingers and tentacles and tossed rocks at the golems, crushing them. Nijire sent some of her spiral beams at Tomo, who simply summoned a broken blade that reflected the beam back at her. Lucky her beams are kinda of slow. As Lemillion got close, Tomo summoned a brass knuckle gauntlet in her free hand, ready to knock his lights out. Only for him to do something unexpected. He jumped into the air and spun, throwing his cape at her. Trying to blind me, huh? She thought as she caught the cape with her counterblade just in case he used his quirk through the cape. She quickly moved it out of the way, only for Lemillion to be gone. She quickly scanned the area. She saw Sun Eater and Nijire, but she couldn't find him. Until she turned around and found him standing a bit away, grinning and pumping his fists in the air. Victory, he shouted to the heavens. Huh? What are you talking about? You haven't won, she said, confused. He stood there chuckling. Did he activate his quirk? Am I already in some sort of mental trap? If so, time to give him a taste of his own medicine. Okay, if that's how you want to play it, as she held his cape out. What comes around goes round. She instantly felt something was wrong. 1, she felt a bit lighter. 2, she felt a breeze in places there shouldn't be a breeze. The second she looked down, as her face turned bright red, and she did what any girl would do in her situation. She screamed. She tried to use the cape to cover herself. My clothes, she said as she tried to reach for them, only for a hand to appear from the ground and snatch them from her reach. She turned to see Lemillion rise from the ground with her clothes in his hands. You. Yep, I planned that. You see, my quirk is permeation. It allows me to go through anything, or allows anything to go through me. I had a hard time getting the hang of it growing up, and when I saw your demonstration early I realized you may be able to use other people's quirks but you don't know how to use them. So I figured if you used my quirk you would drop all of your trinkets, as he moved a part of her kimono revealing several rings and other accessories. I'll kill you, little son of. She was unable to finish as she noticed she was suddenly in the shade. She slowly turned around to see All Might, Endeavor, Hawks and a very pissed off Ryukyu standing over her. Oh right, without my things. The wall and vines disappeared. You're under arrest, said All Might. Fat gum, how's Night Eye? He's out cold and his face is covered in blood, but other than that he looks alright. How about Ragdoll? Same over here, said Mandalay. She seems to be okay. Alright, that just leaves that bitch. They all turned to see Gran Torino helping Burnin, who was still covered in a bit of frost with a bit of blood going down her cheek. She's up, said the old man. And not too happy. You, she said, most definitely pissed. You knocked me out. You froze me and now I'm going to fry your ass. All Might could feel a bit of blood in his mouth. We don't have time for this. Endeavor. Endeavor gave a small grunt. Calm down, Burnin. He's right, said Gran Torino. We may have stopped one thanks to those 3 yunters, but we are still in enemy territory. The heroes began to discuss the next course of action, while Tomo carefully adjusted the cape she was using to cover herself. She had successfully wrapped it around herself like a towel or a toga, trying to cover her important parts. How humiliating, she thought to herself. I don't mind being defeated. I'm not a fighter, but to be stripped in front of all these people, I'm going to kill that brat, she thought as her rage boiled. All Might clapped his hands together. Okay, then we split up. One group takes the injured back and takes the girl in, while the rest of us continue. What we didn't decide on that, said Hawks. There could be more like her here, and before you say anything, I don't care about the odds. What I care about right now is you clearly not telling us everything. Pointing a large feather at All Might, earning looks from the other heroes. You know something. The way you two talked was not the conversation of total strangers. You two may not have met, but you two were both on similar pages. You're not telling us everything. The same goes for you, Gran Torino. Gran Torino and All Might looked at each other, having a slight conversion. How did they know about Master? Thought Tomo, asking the question herself. They may have found this place by an investigation, but Master Yushiro shouldn't exist on paper. Did the previous user of One for All tell him? Did she leave some sort of message? Then is this about her? She's the one that didn't want Master's help. She was the one being stupid. What was that? Tomo looked up to see All Might looking at her. Realizing she said the last part out loud, Tomo was seething with rage but spoke slowly and clearly. She was the one who ran to her death. She was the one denied my master's offer. She was the one who was being stupid. Her death wasn't my master's fault. Don't blame him for her own fuck-ups. As she went on her little rant, the heroes looked between her and All Might. All Might was talking deeper and deeper breaths, and even though his face remained neutral, they could tell he too was getting angry as he was glaring at the girl. You are a delusional little girl. Hopefully a few years behind bars will straighten you out, he said in a deep voice that unnerved the heroes. Even Endeavor, none of them have heard All Might talk like this. Arrest her. I'm going up the mountain, as he turned to the mountain. Some of the heroes began to protest as Burnin was the only one willing to comply as she went to grab Tomo, who had her bangs covering her eyes. I didn't think I would have to use my trump card, but I can't let them stop the operation. I won't let them get Master, and I won't let Eri suffer. Vernon stopped in her tracks as she saw kanji appear in Tomo's eyes. What the? Vernon didn't know what was going on with her eyes, but she could tell she was about to try something. But it all stopped as they heard a very loud click. In a split second, as if time stood still, both girls saw a smoking bullet fly in between them. The group of heroes and Tomo were engulfed in a smokescreen. The heroes on instinct moved out of the way and tried to get out of the smokescreen. Though before they could, something really strong and really fast cut through the smokescreen, making a beeline towards Tomo. Some of the heroes tried to intercept, only to have a powerful whip quickly grab and toss them.
Cracked one.
Fat Gum got in front of Tomo and blocked a kick. The smokescreen lifted enough for him to see his opponent, revealing a blonde girl with glasses. Another kid, she raised her right arm holding the whip as it wrapped around her arm and glowed. Ah, crud. Armored heart punch, she yelled as she hit Fat Gum, making him fly to the edge of the clearing. Tomo, are you okay? OH yeah, yelled Ye from the tree line. Don't worry Tomo, your badass backup has arrived. You too. A smile of relief creeped onto Tomo's face. You know, if my internal clock isn't off, it's only been about 12 minutes. After the phone call, it took us a minute to get down here. It's a big mountain after all, said Melissa, happy to see her friend okay with a glaring problem that shocked her. What happened to your clothes? Tomo spoke through clenched teeth. That blonde little bastard over there took them, glaring over at Lemillion, who was looking a little nervous. If you can just get my necklace, it holds the teleportation quirk, I can fix everything from there. Okay, I can deal with the perv, she said, now glaring at Lemillion, but then noticing behind him was a very familiar dragon. Wait, that's... Oh, dragon lady, said Ye. And they say your trophies don't mount themselves.
Nice.
Wait, that's the hero Ryukyu, said Melissa, waving to Ye to not shoot. She's one of the heroes in Izuku's book. She then scanned the clearing. Those are the wild pussycats. That's Endeavor, Hawks, and... She stopped as she made eye contact with a particular hero that made her jaw drop. Said hero was doing the same with his eyes almost bursting out of his skull. Uncle All Might.
Okay, get out.
Melissa, said All Might, equally as shocked. What's my niece doing here?
Damn. Yeah,
Chapter 12, Who Dropped the Tank? Yashiro took a sigh of relief as he made his way to the waiting room with Izuku in tow. Sensei, how do you think Eri's doing, holding a water bottle for Yashiro? Yashiro gladly took the water bottle. She's doing great. Really? To be honest, I couldn't tell. When working on a quirk, it usually doesn't show physically unless the quirk is a mutation or appears on the body. The only thing Eri has is the horn, so there won't be much change. Oh, then did you really need all those other doctors? Of course, Eri's quirk is strong and it changed her physically. I had to be prepared for the worst, and you don't need to worry about them. Most of them haven't seen a surgery on someone's quirk. Most of them came for the opportunity just to see it. Some of them were taking as many notes as you, he said, taking a drink of water. That's good, that's one less thing to worry about, he said, receiving a quizzical look from Yashiro. I'm kind of worried about the girls. You know, too many cooks in the kitchen. You don't need to worry about that. Tomo will keep them in line, he said, pulling out his phone. If she didn't, I would get a call, staring at his phone intently. Sensei, is it Tomo? No, I had my phone on Do Not Disturb, so I missed several calls from the generals and a few from the president. This shocking Izuku. He would sometimes forget how many powerful connections his sensei had. He was about to ask when the phone began to ring. Yashiro answered quickly. Yes, Prime Minister. Yes, I'm doing just fine. Is there another plague villain? What phone call? Balls deep in it. Yes, that sounds like Ye. What? Why? An invasion. Izuku now was very worried. No, the military is arriving in 5 minutes. Understood. I will.
Scanning me.
Yashiro hung up the phone and put a hand out for Izuku not to ask any questions for a moment so he could take a quick breath. Izuku, I'm going to the kitchen. I want you to go back and tell the other doctors to watch Eri for a moment and tell them we have a situation and tell them to expect company. After that, meet me in the kitchen. The moment Yashiro was done with his instructions, Izuku bolted into the operation room. While Yashiro for the first time in a while used the breath of lightning to get to the kitchen as fast as he could. He could tell he was rusty. He accidentally hit the wall twice and almost broke the door down when he made it to the kitchen. To his horror, there was no one there. It was empty, even the stove was turned off. Tomo, he said under his breath. Sensei, said Izuku, arriving to the kitchen. Where are the others? If I had to guess, they're at the bottom of the mountain dealing with some uninvited guests. Uninvited? The Yakuza, but how? There are a numerous number of quirks out there that can locate people or places. They most likely used something like that to find us. Tomo felt them come through the barrier, and for the same reason I didn't feel them, and why she didn't tell me is because I was in the middle of operating on Eri. I'll go and help. Hold it, said Yashiro with a serious look on his face. I'm coming too. This is my home and I'll be damned if I sit on the sidelines while everyone else fights to protect it. They both nodded as they began to race out of the house when suddenly they heard a crashing noise from the side of the manor. They wordlessly changed course and went to the side of the manor. They both stopped in their tracks at what they saw. Izuku had to ask. What is that? That's a Scorpion-class tank. On my lawn. There's a Scorpion tank on my lawn. WHE, is there a tank on my lawn? Yashiro was about to forget and head down the mountain when they heard the familiar sound of a helicopter. They both looked up to see several helicopters with a lot of firepower flying over. Helicopter quickly descended and Amon in a suit jumped down. Mr. Yashiro, are you all right, sir? I'm fine, Agent. Just tell these people to not break anything. There's doctors in the medical wing, and for the love of sanity, get that tank off my lawn. Izuku, let's go. What, sir? We're here for your protection. Protect the doctors, he yelled over his shoulder as they dashed down the mountain. And get rid of that tank. A few minutes earlier, Melissa and All Might just stared at each other. What are you doing here? They both said at the same time. Me, I'm supposed to be here, they said at the same time again. How are you supposed to be here? Everyone in the area was watching the two like a comedy skit. All Might has a niece, asked Nijire. I had no idea. It really shouldn't be that surprising, said Tiger. A lot of heroes have family. Mandalay nodded. Some just don't advertise it as much. Still, it's kind of hard to believe, said Pixie Bob. I believe it, said Fat Gum, rubbing his cheek. Enough of this, yelled Endeavor. All Might do something about your niece now. Oh, shut up, Flame Face, said Ye, who still had her guns at the ready. Don't call me Flame Face, he screamed back, making his face fire burn brighter. Ever since you called me that on TV, every damn child on the street has begun calling me that. The sound of silence was quite prevalent. Everyone just looked at Endeavor for a moment, while Burnin was looking away from her boss. Wait, do you really come here because she called you Flame Face? Asked Ryukyu. I came here to put a stop to these vigilantes and to find out who's screwing with the government. But we only found out about the government problem during the meeting. All Might, hurry up with your niece. Endeavor growled. All Might walked over to Melissa and put his hands on her shoulders and kneeled. Melissa, what are you doing here and how on earth did you punch Fat Gum? I kind of live here. What, why? Because, well, it's a bit complicated. My dad's new friend invited me to stay here to help with my quirk. All Might could feel his blood drain from his face. Hoping his hearing was wrong. Quirk. Yeah, I have a quirk now and he's been teaching me how to use it without. Uncle, are you alright? All Might hung his head in shame.
You tell me.
This is all my fault. I should have been honest with David. I should have told him. All Might, think it's time for a tactical retreat, suggested Gran Torino. Some of the other heroes had no idea what exactly was going on, but they did like this idea. You're right, said All Might as he stood tall. I thank you all for coming and I promise a proper explanation, but first I need to get my niece out of here. Ha? Wait a minute, why? Melissa was now very confused on what was going on. I'm sure if I talk to Sensei we can sort this out. Melissa, listen to me. That man is not a good person. He's tricked you and your father. Him and everyone who works for him is a criminal. Hey. I will not allow you to insult him, said Tomo, trying to ignore her current dress. Yay. Don't worry, I already got my sights on him, said Ye with her gun now pointed at All Might. I don't take kindly to people who insult my father and the old man like that. He's done a lot for my family. You might be a hero, but I can guarantee that he's done more than you will ever do. So just try to take my friend Johnny Bravo and we'll see who's walking away. Johnny Bravo? Whoa.
Lifeline, come on.
Whoa. Whoa. Everyone calm down. No one is going anywhere, said Melissa, trying to get a hold of the situation. Uncle All Might, look, I don't know what's going on, but I don't think Mr. Yashiro is a bad person. He even offered to help you. Melissa, we need to go and I'm not taking any help from... Wait, who? Mr. Yashiro, he owns the mountain, he's the one who's been training me and Izuku. All Might thought for a moment it might be an alias, but when he looked at Gran Torino it looked like he was lost in thought. Before he could ask, they could hear a loud noise approaching from the distance. The sky became filled with engine noises as several helicopters flew over them, circling everyone in the area. What in the fresh hell is this? Screamed Burnin over the propeller noise. 3 of the helicopters landed and several soldiers came out surrounding the heroes, pointing their rifles at the heroes. I don't think those soldiers are on our side. A man with a crew-cut haircut with a mustache and a high-ranking military uniform came down from one of the helicopters with a megaphone in hand. Attention, all of you, stand down. I'm General Bokaza. If you do not comply, we will treat you as a hostile. Everyone was too stunned to say anything. Some began to silently panic while others began to prepare their quirks. Wait came from an unexpected place. Please wait. Look, I know we were just fighting, but I nor my master want anyone to die today. Especially here where we live. Miss Tomo, are you alright, and what exactly are you wearing? Asked the general. It's good to see you, Mr. Bokaza, said Tomo, giving a small bow. And as you can see, a lot has happened today. I can see that. Don't worry, we'll arrest these trespassers, so rest easy. What? Yelled Endeavor. We are the heroes here. On what grounds are you putting us under arrest? Several of the soldiers actually began to hesitate at Endeavor's point. Several of them were unaware of why they were there, and all of them recognized the heroes in the area. Well, are you going to tell us? Jenny Bokaza didn't like being talked back to. Why, you son of... We are the Japanese military, you are heroes and you will follow our orders. That isn't good enough. as Endeavor reached and grabbed Tomo's shoulder against her protest. If you don't give me a proper explanation, I will treat the people here as criminals. Shocking the heroes and the soldiers. Don't you dare, Endeavor. I will make the order. Flame face. Yae getting his attention. I won't miss, pointing her gun at his head. The rifle began to glow. Whether you want to take a bullet is up to you, but please make the wrong choice. The tension was reaching an all-time high. No one knew what was going to happen next. The Pussycats were considering surrendering and getting medical attention for Ragdoll. The same could be said for those of the Night Eye Agency. Fat Gum and Ryukyu wanted answers but didn't want to get arrested. All Might and Gran Torino weren't leaving without answers, and Hawks was about ready to knock Endeavor out before any more blood was shed. What in the hell is going on here? Everyone in the area turned to see Demon Slayer and a pale kid wearing a doctor's coat. With various people have different reactions. Izuku, sensei/old man, said Melissa and Yae, happy to see them. Mr. Yashiro, said the general with a saluting Yashiro, shocking the troops. Master Yashiro, Tomo said quietly, but her voice was filled with joy. After hearing this, Endeavor took his eyes off the two for a second to look down at Tomo. When he looked back, he only saw Izuku standing there, and then he suddenly felt something grab his arm. He looked down to find the pale boy holding his arm. Yashiro had a look of anger and spoke in a low, menacing voice. "Let go of Tomo right now," was all Yashiro said. Even though he wasn't gripping Endeavor's arm very hard, his words were enough. Endeavor has been a pro hero for years, and not once has he ever felt as much fear as he did looking at the boy in front of him. Every instinct in his body was telling him to run, as if he was facing an ancient beast, and for the first time in his hero career he jumped back out of pure fear itself. The sudden release from Endeavor threw off Tomo's balance, but before she could fall, Yashiro catches her and gives her a huge, causing Tomo to blush and be a little embarrassed out of the open display of affection. Master. Tomo, are you okay?" asked Yashiro with concern in his voice as he broke the hug. "What happened to your clothes?" After the hug, Tomo had turned her face away out of embarrassment. "The blonde boy has it." Yashiro turned to a now panicking Lemillion. Yashiro, with clear anger on his face, forced himself to talk calmly. "Boy, please give those back." Now, leaving absolutely no room for arguing. Lemillion didn't move for a moment before seeing some of the other heroes nodding him to do so. He quickly walked over to the two holding out the clothes. Yashiro reached into the kimono, grabbing the necklace and giving it to Tomo. The second she got a hold of it, she quickly activated the quirk and was instantly wearing the clothes that were in Lemillion's hands. Tomo quickly put the necklace on. She then wordlessly dusted herself off before walking to Lemillion and giving him a slap on the face, leaving a solid handprint on his face, before returning to Yashiro's side. "Feel better?" Tomo gave a silent nod to Yashiro's question. "Okay, with that out of the way. What is going on and why are all of you here?" There was a moment of silence as none of the heroes knew exactly how to respond. "Who the hell are you, brat? What are you?" Endeavor asking the $1 million question. "How dare you," said Gen Bokaza in a booming voice. Walking up to Yashiro. "This man here has done more for this country, nay for the world, than anyone else. You will treat him with the respect he deserves." This only served to confuse everyone else a lot more than they already were, and Yashiro could clearly see that. "General, I thank you for helping me, but I think it would help everyone if we explained a few things." The general nodded in understanding. "Now I think the best way is with a demonstration. Yay, if you could." Bang! As Yashiro's head was blown to bits off of his shoulder. "That should do it." "Yae," yelled both Melissa and Izuku. while causing Tomo to pinch the bridge of her nose. The general stood there with his mouth wide open as he stared at Yashiro's headless body. This also caused many soldiers to now aim their weapons at Ye and made many heroes to go back to a fighting stance. "What the hell?" said Ryukyu in shock. "I thought they were on the same side," said Sun Eater to try to keep his lunch in. "Okay, I did not see that coming," said Hawks. Bubble Girl just kept staring at the body. Should we arrest her now or she began to scream as the headless body began to move. Everyone in the area watched as the body stood up without a head. Then they all watched as veins and bones began to grow out of the body and form a skull, then muscle, and then skin. After the head was restored, Yashiro rubbed his eyes before turning and glaring at Ye. "I was going to ask for you to make me a knife. I wasn't going to ask you to blow my head off." Ye simply shrugged. "It worked, didn't it?" As the noise of a few soldiers vomiting could be heard along with the thud of one of them fainting. Yashiro took a deep breath before turning around and looking at the shocked faces of all the heroes. "So questions?" All the heroes were too shocked to form words. Silence was their response. As for Bubble Girl in particular, it was fainting. "Yep, that sounds about right. Okay, let me go over the basics. My name is Yashiro and I'm 223 years old. My quirk is a form of hyper-regeneration, and because of this I haven't aged in years. I've been alive since the dawn of quirks. Any questions so far?" Hawks slowly raised his hand. "So you've lived here for 200 years? Not the entire time. You see, back in the day when quirks first appeared, the populace was scared. Many people with quirks were attacked, and I was no different. This place originally belonged to a military instructor who turned it into a safe haven for the first quirk users of Japan. He was able to use his connections with the government to have this place disappear from the maps. When he passed, he asked me to watch over the place. This was mostly a lie, but it was a believable lie, and it's the same one they told Melissa when she first stayed here." "So why have you been hiding?" asked Fat Gum. "I haven't exactly been hiding. You see, back in the day no one really understood quirks. Some people thought it was magic. When people found out I was somewhat immortal, they tried to find a way to use me so they could stay young as well. That's when I found out my blood is poisonous, extremely poisonous. Even up to 70 years ago, people had the insane idea that if you drink my blood you will somehow gain eternal youth. It didn't work, and I inadvertently killed a warlord and all of his followers. This included his captive civilians. After that I thought it would be best to stay and work in the shadows for a bit until the world got far enough with quirks to understand that they don't work like that. Demon blood was highly toxic. If ingested, hope someone is nearby for your last few words." Gran Torino had a question this time. "What kind of work did you do in the shadows?" "Oh, a few projects here and there that will hopefully help humanity a little." "A little," said Bokaza. "Sir, you don't have to be so modest. You've developed the technology for nerve transplants, you helped create Island, heck, you even convinced the government to bring over the hero agency system from America. Our country would have most likely fallen apart without your genius." Yashiro gave the general a tried look. "Thank you, General Bokaza." Yashiro was about to continue when a new helicopter was heard overhead. As it landed, everyone could see Helicopter 1 on the side of it. The presidential helicopter. As it was landing, Bubble Girl decided it was time to wake up, asking what happened. Someone catch her up to speed. As he walked to the helicopter, as the Prime Minister stepped out with his security. Prime Minister Abuyoshiki. The president looked like a young man with black hair and pale eyes. "Mr. Yashiro, I'm so sorry for the situation. Has it calmed down at all?" "Somewhat. We're talking now, and from their reactions so far they had no idea who I am. The Prime Minister narrowed his eyes as he approached the heroes. Okay, I'll ask this once, why are you all here? All of the heroes shifted in place like children getting scolded by their parents. All Might decided to speak. Mr. President, we are because we were investigating the vigilante demon slayer. Why? I checked the police records and there were no investigations into demon slayer authorized. Are you kidding me? Said Gran Torino. A kid shows up and for months defeats criminal after criminal, and you don't think that's suspicious, not to mention the mysterious person who pays for everything from the medical bills to the construction and damages. Do you have any idea how much that cost? Way too much money to seem legit. That got Izuku's attention. Really? Was it a lot of money? The heroes looked at him. You don't know? Izuku shook his head. Bubble Girl. Yeah. Bubble Girl took out her phone that had a backup of all the info on her phone. Here, showing Izuku and the others of the amount. For a moment everyone was afraid Izuku's eyes would pop out of his head. Are you okay? It's just an estimate. Izuku looked at Yushiro with his face still in shock. Is this accurate? Izuku, for your own sake, please blink your eyes. They look like they're going to fall out, as he took a quick glance at the phone. Oh wow, that's actually really close, just 2 million shy of the actual amount. The next thud they heard was Izuku collapsing to the ground with foam coming out of his mouth. Izuku said his friends as they checked on him. Ye took a look at the phone. Wayo. Old man, how do you have that kind of money? Well, I have had a few investments that have gone quite well. Some of them are well over 100 years old. That combined with a few patents and royalties I have, and the fact that I don't need to eat to live and I make a lot of things myself. It all kind of builds over time. Oh, and whenever I get asked to go somewhere, most of the time the trip and all expenses are paid for. So in a nutshell, with my life still, it all just builds itself, and I use several different accounts just in case the bank hits and gets shut down or robbed.
Let me put on my glasses, yo.
A lot of things were making sense for the heroes right now, which made some of them feel a little guilty. It took a moment, but Izuku came back to his senses. When he did, he began to apologize to his sensei and offered to pay him back over the next 100 years.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Though
saying.
most there knew that wouldn't be nearly enough time to pay the money back. Then Yushiro shocked them all by informing him that Izuku barely took more than 1% of his total amount in the bank. Yeah, I don't spend a lot of money, so I forget how much of it I have. I should donate more. What about your mansion on the mountain? I built it. I've been alive for a long time and I've had a few friends who helped here and there, but a majority of it was built with my own 2 hands. I get bored every now and then. So you're not a villain then? Asked Nijire, raising her hand. Who's manipulating kids? What? No, said Yushiro, wondering why heroes brought kids to his mountain. Is that what this is about? You think I'm some sort of villain operating from a mountain? Kinda. I mean, how are we supposed to know that you are what the Prime Minister's doctor, assistant, what are you exactly? Again, way too much money to be legit, repeated Gran Torino, interrupting Nijire's question. But definitely enough money to manipulate the government. The Prime Minister stepped forward at what he considered a bit of an insult. You shouldn't underestimate the government. We aren't that easy to manipulate as you may think. As for Mr. Yushiro here, think of the country as a village. I would be the chief, heroes as warriors, and the people as the villagers. In this analogy, Mr. Yushiro would be the elder, the one everyone goes to for advice, and a person who's respected from every other village in the world.
No.
People come far and wide for his advice or help with medicine, even though elder is technically not an official job in the village. Oh, I get it. He's smart, so you got him for help when you or someone else screws up. Okay, moving on, said the president, getting the conversation back on track and ignoring the girl's small insult. This does not excuse any of you for breaking into private property and attacking the residents.
Yeah, you're weird, bro.
Wait,
I went back to lobby.
Mandalay said, getting their attention. Look, I know we're in trouble and all, but Ragdoll and Night Eye are out unconscious because of the fight and need medical attention. She pointed at the two. What did you do to them? Tomo realized she was asking her. Izuku, these two have vision quirks, correct? Yes. Sir, Night Eye has the power to see into the future, and Ragdoll has a quirk called Search that allows her to locate a person and find their weak points. It was most likely a temporary quirk overload. Their quirks allow them to read or see what quirk that a person is going to use. I technically used several quirks that teleport objects or change the space around me. I changed them so rapidly I overloaded their quirks by accident.
Hey.
This was also a lie they made up just in case this situation happened. The real reason is because their quirks reacted to Tomo's demonic power. Though it looked like the lie worked and satisfied most of them, those who knew the truth knew that this would have to be something they would need to handle in the future. Mr. Prime Minister, said Yashiro, I know what these heroes did was wrong, but I don't think we need to deal out the punishment immediately, and don't get me wrong, they will pay for this, and no, I don't want their money, nor do I want their licenses taken away. We all know that would cause more problems than it would solve, but I do have a few ideas on how they can pay me back for this. Though for now we should tend to the wounded and I have to return back to my house. I was in the middle of surgery and my patient needs me. Surgery, said the president, making some of the heroes nervous. Yes, I was taking a break, but I need to get back to it. Excuse me, sirs, said Bokaza in his usual booming voice.
What are you talking about those people?
I just got a report from the soldiers at the temporary roadblock. There's several police officers outside along with the chief of police himself. What, the president couldn't believe this. I can't believe I've lost this much trust with my own people. No, this is partly my fault, said Yashiro. I owe these people and the country an explanation. It's time for me to return to society. Are you sure? Yes, I've been hidden long enough. Please inform the other cabinet members and the other world leaders that this may concern. I'll give you more details later this week. Very well. You've given us help whenever we have asked for it. We will back you any way we can, he said as he bowed to Yashiro. Yashiro bowed back. Thank you. Now then, all of you heroes expect to hear from me in the future. I will be in contact with all of you and I look forward to speaking with Night Eye and Ragdoll when they wake up. As he turned to Bokaza. Now would you mind escorting them off the mountain and please get the tank off my lawn? A tank, said Ye, grinning from ear to ear. No, Ye, we are not keeping the tank, said Yashiro, making her pout. Also for blowing my head off, you're weeding the garden this week, causing her to complain. Do it again and you're cleaning the whole house. Causing Ye to gasp in horror. Wait. They turned to see Mandalay being blocked by the general and a few guards. What happened during the muscular incident? She shouted out. Clearly desperate. Yashiro raised his eyebrow as he looked at Izuku, who was shocked by the question. Izuku, how about you escort them down the mountain? Izuku nodded and began to follow the heroes. Yashiro also noticed Melissa fidgeting in place. You can invite All Might up if you want. I'm sure you two have much to talk about. Really? Of course, and tell him to bring Gran Torino as well. But first I would like a word with all of the heroes, said a clearly unhappy Prime Minister.
Oh my god, yeah, I saw them. Might die here, bro.
Maggie looks like.
So what would you like to know? Asked Izuku,
I have
walking
no ammo, I have
alongside
no ammo, I
Mandalay.
have no ammo.
First of all, I would like to apologize for all of this
Oh,
today.
you a bitch!
I didn't think things would go this far. It's fine. I know Mr. Yashiro as a whole is a big secret, but he's a really nice person, so I doubt he'll make your punishment too harsh, said Izuku, kind of worried what his sensei was cooking up as a punishment.
I can't fight this though.
But what is it that you would like to know about the muscular incident? The water hose duo, she said with sadness in her voice and eyes. Could you tell me what happened to them? To be honest, I can't, he said, receiving a look of shock. When I got there, Muscular was already running away with a massive injury on his face. I chased him down to an abandoned building, but then the building began to fall apart. Did he destroy the support beams? No, it was like the building was turning to dust. The last I saw of Muscular, a person in a hoodie showed up right next to him and took him through a black portal. So someone saved him. He's not working alone. That's my guess. After I got out of the building, I went to tell the police what happened. That's when they informed me that the water hose duo was fighting him. I never saw them that day. So you didn't see them at all, not even their bodies? No, I'm sorry. Don't be, this gives me a little bit of hope that they're still out there, she said, looking down and squeezing her hands. Hopefully. Were they friends of yours? Family, actually. In all honesty, I wanted to meet you and ask, but this was not how I thought it was going to happen. Sorry again, by the way. It's all right. Hey, if you hear anything, I'll tell you guys right away. Thanks. Where the hell do you think you're going? Asked the president. Endeavor looked over his shoulder at the president. I'm going home. None of you are going anywhere, as the soldiers made a formation around the heroes as Night Eye and Ragdoll were put into ambulances. Mr. Yashiro may not have punished you right now, but that doesn't mean any of you are getting off scot-free right now. If I didn't want to lose Mr. Yashiro's good graces right now, I would strip all of you of your hero licenses and have you all arrested for trespassing on a government black site. Melissa was about to interject when Izuku came and put a hand on her shoulder and shook his head quietly. This was not their place. If you're so worried about your precious doctor, why don't you have him locked away in some lab or on Island with the rest of the lab rats? Did you know we are currently on international land? All of these fields belong to other countries and many more are watching this mountain. When I get back to my office, I'm expecting several phone calls from other world leaders as to why in hell did I let this happen. He has more standings around the world than anyone else. Even you all might. He yelled with clear anger in his voice, pointing to the #1 hero. The last time someone tried to force him to work against his will, there was almost another global war. They learned very quickly it was a bad idea to keep a demon against his will. Especially one with many friends and several who want to be his friend. The reason this place isn't under heavy security is out of respect for him and because this place is of great historical significance to the country as the first safe haven for people with quirks. People even 200 years ago he helped. He's traveled the world helping millions of lives and putting an end to countless diseases and plagues. Even the one that was killing my own family, he said the last part calmly. So when he told me he was training a hero and would pay for all of it, I would be lying if I wasn't overjoyed. With his track record, I happily let it happen, and not only did we get a fantastic hero in training that already has a better track record than some pros, but the government saved a lot of money and resources, and since Mr. Yashiro was paying for all of it, our economy is having its biggest growth in the past 10 years. Prime Minister Abu Yoshiki had to take a deep breath after his rant and to collect his thoughts. Before he could continue, one of his security details came and whispered in his ear. Sir, you have been receiving calls from the President of America, China, the UK Prime Minister and many others.
He ran all the
They're
way
all
there.
asking about what's going on here. Tell them to give me 5 minutes and route all calls to my helicopter, he whispered back. Before looking back to the
Is there
group.
any arrows? No.
Okay, here's what's going to happen. I will let Mr. Yashiro decide your punishment, but for now you're all getting babysitters, in a frustrated voice. As expected, almost all of them protested. This is non-negotiable. You will each be assigned an agent for the time being until being informed otherwise. Not only to make sure nothing that happened here today gets out to the public, but also to make sure you have a contact with both me and Mr. Yashiro. For now though, I want you to go down and tell the police to calm down, and I will personally talk to the chief at the station. That is all. General, make sure all of them have an extra shadow by the end of the day and that the interns are sent back to the school for now. General Bokaza gave a loud yes sir. And make sure they all understand to keep their lips shut, said the Prime Minister as he went towards the helicopter, mentally preparing himself. So Sun Eater trying to find the right words. Did we fail our internships?
10 seconds.
General Bokaza looked at the trio. No, we will the school each of you passed, but all of you should be thankful that you're getting a slap on the wrist than spending your youth in Tartarus. Oh. Yashiro was able to make it back in time and finish Aries' surgery. The doctors thanked him for the opportunity before they left. With the help of Tomo was able to salvage dinner while Melissa gave All Might and Gran Torino a tour of the mansion. Also was able to see All Might's skinny form firsthand. Afterwards, Gran Torino got to watch as All Might was bar-rated over the phone by David for causing so much trouble. It only made All Might feel even worse learning that his friend tried so much to help him. He really needed to do something for David after this. Things had finally calmed down for the day for Yashiro as he walked down the hall of his home. Until he looked out the window. What is that tank still doing on my lawn? He yelled as he saw the tank was still there. That loudmouth general forgot to get the stupid tank. He already was halfway dialing the number on his phone when Gran Torino and a skinny All Might walked up to him. I'm guessing it's time to talk. Yes, we have some questions. Don't worry, I'll tell you everything I know and the story of how I met Nana Shimura.
Oh, there was one upstairs.
Chapter 13, Yashiro and the 7th. Come on, let me drive it. Just for a bit. Please. No, yay, said Tomo, keeping a barrier between Ye and the tank. I just want to drive it a bit, maybe fire the cannon once. Only once. Please. No, she said firmly, not backing off. Come on, Ye. Give it a rest. Said Melissa, we can play a tank game on my laptop if you want. But this is real. Come on, how many times do you get to drive a tank?
That's why when they
I mean, look at this thing, she said with stars in her eyes.
Why?
I could blow up the whole world with this thing. And she wonders why we worry about her, said Izuku, holding Eri, who was eating a cookie and poking Izuku's earrings. Oh, come on Izuku, don't you want to ride this? Ye trying to get Izuku on his side. You can try to pick up chicks with this thing, causing Izuku to blush a little bit and Eri to wonder what this had to do with chicken. Melissa raised her eyebrow. Who would try to pick up a date with a tank? Hey Tomo, how'd they forget something like this here? Asked Izuku. Tomo began to rub her temples at the sheer stupidity of the reason. According to the general, the men he sent to pick it up forgot because they were too busy arguing whether or not their Jeep looked like a pampa, causing the 3 teens to stare at her in disbelief while Eri asked what's a pampa. I couldn't make this up even if I tried. Oh. So what do you want to know first? Asked Yashiro. I'm an open book. I'll answer any question you have, as he began to pour tea for both Gran Torino and All Might in his skinny form, both of them sitting across from Yashiro. They were currently sitting in a small tea room Yashiro used for private meetings with world leaders. "Any question?" asked Torino. Yashiro nodded.
These niggas are
"Then my first
weirdos,
question is,
yo.
are you even human?" All Might had to stop mid-sip. "What? Sir, what are you talking about? He maybe have lived a different kind of life than us, but—" "No, I'm not," said Yashiro, interrupting All Might and answering the question. "I'm a demon. I haven't been human in over 600 years. All Might could feel a bit of a cold sweat coming. "What?" Gran Torino took a sip of the tea. "Demons are real. Nana told me years ago that she met one. Of course I didn't believe she was being literal. I just thought she ran into a villain with a quirk that makes them look like a demon." "No, she met me." "Then let's start there. I have a million more questions right now, but how did you meet Nana?" Yashiro looked into his teacup as he remembered the day. "It was quite a long time ago when I was going through something and was a bit of a different person back then. Several years ago." Yashiro got off the train with flowers in hand. He began to walk out of the station alone and made his way down the street. He continued until he saw a group of kids outside of a convenience store looking at a poster. Yashiro stopped and took a glance at the poster. It looked familiar for some reason. He cut through the group of kids and took a closer look at the poster. It was for an upcoming movie. "Oh, I know this movie," he said after the memories came to him. "So they finally made a second one." "Second one," said one of the kids. "Dude, where have you been? This is for the 7th movie. The second one came out like 20 years ago." "Oh well, thank you, child," said Yashiro in a monotone voice as he turned to walk away. "Hey, you're only a few years older than us, you know." "I wish," was all he said as he continued to walk down the street. He did make it far before a truck crashed into a building across the street. Yashiro stopped and saw several armed men jump out of the truck with bags overflowing with money. As they tried to grab as much as they could, a hero came down from the sky. "Hold it right there," said the female hero who was floating off the ground. "Surrender now." "It's the floating bitch, light her up," said one of the criminals as they all brought up their guns and began to fire. The hero floated higher and began to dodge the bullets. One of the criminals changed their hand into an RPG launcher. "Try this one on for size." The hero, upon seeing the quirk, dived to the ground, activating her second quirk, hitting the ground and causing a shock wave, causing many of the villains to lose their balance and fall. That quirk. Yashiro recognizing the power. "So you found a successor, Lariat." Then the man with the RPG hand fell to the ground, accidentally firing off a rocket, hitting the top corner of the convent store. Yashiro saw the kids from before right under the falling rubble. Without thinking, Yashiro dropped the flowers and took a deep breath in before rushing forward. "Move, get out of the way," shouted the hero as she too rushed to save the child. Yashiro was able to make it first and shoved the child out of the way, but not fast enough to get out of the way himself, as the rubble crushed him. "No!" shouted the hero as she quickly pulled the rubble off of Yashiro, only to see his mangled body. "You just killed a kid," she said with clear anger in her voice as she stared down the villain. The villain in question got scared and grabbed a gun and pointed it at her. "Don't come any closer, you hear me? Don't, what the fuck," he shouted as he began to shake so much he dropped the gun. "Relax, will you," said a voice behind the hero. She turned to see Yashiro standing up, dusting himself off. "There's no need to cry over spilled milk, you know. You're okay." She couldn't believe the kid she just saw getting crushed just suddenly got up. "My quirk is hyper regeneration," he said as he pulled out his phone, making sure it was okay. "Well then, looks like we have nothing to worry about." The two turned to see the group of villains pick up their weapons. "Time to die." One moment, said Yashiro as he raised a finger at the group, before he began to text on his phone. I'm fine, no need to freak out and send, as he sent a text to the people watching him. He then put his phone away, then rushed and judo flipped the closest criminal. Let's begin. In the moment of shock, the hero took the opportunity to punch out one of them. It didn't take very long for the two to deal with the criminals. To be honest, Yashiro thought of the fight as a whole as boring. Hey, thanks for the help, said the hero. Where did you learn how to fight like that? You wield the power well. Tell Daigoro he picked a good successor, said Yashiro as he picked up the flowers. Daigoro, wait, do you mean lariat? Hey, wait, you have to wait for the police, she said as she saw Yashiro walking away. There would be no point and it would be a waste of time. Tell them whatever you'd like. I don't care, he said as he pulled out a piece of paper and vanished before their eyes. Yashiro put the flowers down next to a light post on an abandoned street. It was completely devoid of people. To anyone passing by, this would be a regular street with nothing to really make it noteworthy, but to Yashiro this was where everything changed. Yashiro didn't take his eyes off the flowers. How did you find me? It wasn't hard, I just followed the flower petals, said the hero from before as she stood next to Yashiro. Those flowers. Who died here? A lot of people died here. This is where humanity fought and killed its greatest enemy. As memories of the battle flashed before him. You're not a kid, are you? No. I guess Daigoro didn't tell you about me. You know about my quirk? One for all, yes, and I knew Daigoro, the fifth user. I didn't know him. I'm actually the seventh user, Nana Shimura. I see, so Daigoro is dead, his voice carrying the same amount of emotion as before. He was completely unfazed by the information, and this did not sit right with Nana. That's it. I'm used to it, he said as he began to walk away. When asked where he was going, he simply replied he was going home. He kept walking, and even though he couldn't hear her because she was floating, he could tell she was following him. How long do you intend to keep following me? Don't you know it's a hero's job to help people, she said with a big smile on her face. To be frank, you look like you can use some help. I'm fine, still very monotone. It's okay to admit you need help, she said, but didn't get a response. Hey, maybe you can help me. I've always wanted to know what my predecessors were like. Yashiro looked at her, realizing that she wasn't going anywhere, sighed. Alright, let's cut all the useless nonsense. I'll answer all of your questions. Let's just get back to my house first. Okay, then let on. After a bit more walking and one cab ride later, they arrived back at Yashiro's house on MT Saigiri. This is your house? Asked Nana, seeing it for the first time. It looks like a mansion or a small castle. It was originally a house, but I've added to it over the centuries, as he opened the doors and stepped inside. Nana followed him and noticed something was off with the place. What's with all the dust? When's the last time someone cleaned this place? As she looked on the walls and saw several photos covered in dust, but could make out Yashiro with several people. He seems happy and not like a walking husk, she thought. I don't know. Must have been at least a decade. Nana was a tough hero but couldn't deny that was somewhat disgusting. What? Why don't you clean it? Don't you have a janitor or something? Don't you find this gross? As she saw another wall filled with thank you letters from several people and groups, some of them even Nana recognized. I haven't had anyone like that in years, and well, I guess I did make this place too big. What's the point? What's the point? She echoed. At least tell me you've kept the kitchen and bathrooms clean. Yashiro stopped for a moment to think, before walking into the kitchen. Nana followed only to see it in more dismay than the entryway. What the? How do you cook food like this? I don't. I have no need for food or water to keep my body functioning. To be honest, I only had this room for guests. When was the last time you had guests? This question actually made Yoshiro a bit uncomfortable. Come, I used the tea room recently, so it should be clean. It wasn't. Recent to him was years, not days. What do you do all day? Answer a few questions and give out my opinions to other scientists and doctors. Other than that, nothing. After the silence, Nana began to ask her questions and Yoshiro answered her. Each and every single question. Yoshiro didn't even try to hide anything, he told her everything. What was the point of hiding? What was the point if she knew? What was the point, he thought. Hey Nana, called Gran Torino. You're late, what's up? You ditched the police officers yesterday and they weren't too happy. Yes, sorry about that, Torino, she said. Clearly her thoughts were elsewhere, as she was remembering everything that Yoshiro had told her. You okay, Nana? Asked her friend, who was now getting concerned. I haven't seen you like this in a long time. Just thinking about a few things. Anything I can help you with? No, she said quietly. Hey, what if I told you demons were real? What? Gran Torino was now very concerned for his friend. What if I told you demons were real and the whole reason we have quirks is because of them and that their evil runs through all of our veins? Nana, you're scaring me here, said Gran Torino, now positive that something here was wrong. Look, if this is about putting your son up for adoption, I'm sorry, but I think this is the best option we have right now. Look, I'll take over Toshinori's training today and you take your son to that samurai festival in town, spend some time with him before you can anymore. I mean, you wouldn't want him or Toshinori to see you look like a husk of yourself. That got her attention. What did you just say? The samurai festival. Not that. Adoption. After that. The last part of what you said. You should let the boys see you as a husk. Nana's mind went into overdrive, remembering everything that happened yesterday. That's it. That was his problem, that's why he seems so hopeless. He's forgotten who he is. Who in the world are you talking about? Yoshiro, she said as she began to formulate a plan. She began to leave. Hey, can you take over Toshinori's training today? As she started to run. I already said I would, yelled Gran Torino as she ran out of sight. What was that about? Gran Torino, sir, said a young Toshinori Yagi. Was that Shimura-sensei I saw leaving back there? Yep, she had something to take care of. So you're going to be working with me today, Zygote? Gran Torino said with a devilish grin, causing Toshinori to begin shaking in horror. Oh. Sun feels good today, said Yoshiro to himself as he sat on his porch soaking up the sun. What should I do today? Maybe I should clean a little. Nana did seem a little disgusted at the state of my house. He thought about it for a moment. What's the point? I'll just lay here today. Which he didn't for a few more minutes before he felt something block his sunshine. He opened his eyes to see the smiling face of Nana Shimura. How you doing, Yoshiro? Nana, what are you doing here? You didn't forget something, did you? Yoshiro asked when he suddenly felt something poke him. He turned to see something he never expected. A child no more than 5 holding a toy samurai sword and wearing a matching toy samurai helmet. What? Who are you? I'm the Red Samurai, leader of the Masked Samurai, said the child while striking a pose. This caused Yoshiro's mind to go blank, having no idea how to respond to this child's antics. What? Nana chuckled. That's my son Kotaro. Okay, what is he doing here? What are you doing here? Is this your castle, mister? Asked Kotaro, marveling at how big it is. When Yoshiro confirmed this, the boy's eyes widened.
Yeah, at least let me get
That's
like
so
an assist
cool,
off
you're
him.
like the blue samurai, the masked prince. Again Yoshiro's mind went blank, blanker than before if that was even possible. Having no idea what to do, so he looked to Nana for answers only to find her leading her son inside his house. What are you doing? They went all the way to the entrance of the house where Nana began to search one of the tables at the entrance. Hey, where's your wallet? Left drawer. If you want to rob, I have more valuables than my wallet. Just what are you doing? You got your phone right and it's charged, she asked as she kneeled down for Kotaro to hop on, giving him a piggyback ride. Yoshiro mindlessly took out his phone and checked his phone. Yeah, it's charged. Why? Nana responded by tossing him his wallet and grabbing him and dragging him outside. What are you? He was about ready to start fighting back. Nana reached her arm around him. Better hang on tight, as she powered her legs with one for all power. What you're not dash, he wasn't able to finish as they took off into the air. No sir, I'm perfectly fine. If you want you can keep your men on standby, that's fine, but I doubt anything will happen here. Yoshiro said as he looked at the samurai festival with happy children running around playing games and having fun. After he was done calming down the current prime minister, he hung up the phone and walked up to Nana, who was with her son at a food stand, who both smiled at him approaching. So what is this? It's the samurai festival, said Kotaro, very excited to be here. It's where the cyber samurai are and they beat up the monster with giant robots. So they're Power Rangers then. What's a Power Ranger? I think that's what they were called over 100 years ago. Though that aside, here, have some noodles, she said, holding out a bowl of noodles. I don't need to eat, you know. I know, but I want to give you some, as she handed the bowl to Yoshiro. Yoshiro looked at the bowl before taking the chopsticks and took a bit of the noodles. Though after the first bit he had to stop for a moment. Is something wrong? No, it's good. Real good. It's been a long time since I had noodles. I don't remember them to be this good, as he began to eat the noodles and before he knew it he finished the noodles. I guess you miss eating, huh? Yoshiro couldn't deny after eating the noodles he began to crave other foods that he hasn't had in over a decade. It has been a while. Come on, let's go play some games, she said as the three went around and played several games, and Yoshiro couldn't deny that he was actually having a good time. They were currently at a game booth where Kotaro was trying to slice up a monster, but he was just swinging wildly. Some you got this, cheered his mother. Yoshiro decided to speak up. Kotaro, take a step back and breath. Then when you try again, try only swinging when the enemies are within range. Kotaro took his advice, and when he tried again he began to rack up points left and right, almost beating the high score. Though he didn't mind as he was able to get the red samurai shield as a prize. That was awesome, Mr. Kotaro, as he played with his new shield. How'd you know that would work? I've learned a thing or two in my day, said Yoshiro, remembering his own training he did years ago, and all of his teachers he had along the way. Really, can you show me more? Asked the young child. Maybe, he said, unknowingly smiling himself. They explored the festival more throughout the night, eating different food and playing different games. They even took some photos together. Though as the night went on, the festival soon came to a close. Soon after, Kotaro fell asleep and Nana began to carry him while he slept peacefully on her back. So why did you bring me here? Asked Yoshiro as they found a park bench to sit. With Kotaro asleep they couldn't just jump like before. I told you everything, so what are you getting out of this? Nothing, she said. I wanted to help you. You look like you had nothing to live for, as if you were walking around like a living husk of your former self. In fact, last night I had a dream that the original user and Daigoro were asking me to help you. I even remember Daigoro telling me to kick your butt back into shape. The original user just wanted me to tell you that you're not alone, you still got friends out there, and I think you would make a lot more if you went outside. Yashiro stared at her for a moment, realizing that even though they were gone they were still here for him, and he laughed. Yashiro couldn't help it. He laughed harder than he had ever laughed in at least 200 years. I'm such an idiot, Hana, even the dead can see that, as he fell off the bench. Nana couldn't help but smile at the demon. When he was done, he got on his knees and bowed to Nana. Thank you, I realize now I needed this. Don't mention it. I was happy to help, and it gave me some good memories of my son, as she lovingly looked at her son. Nana, I would like to give you something, he said as he stood up. Could you please return to my house with me? Oh. After returning to the mountain, they went straight to the lab. To Nana's surprise, it was actually clean. She couldn't find a single spot of dirt in the room. She actually felt safe enough to put her son down in one of the computer chairs. Yashiro went to the bookcase at the end of the room and pulled out a series of books that opened a number pad on the wall. He input a few numbers into the pad, causing the wall of the room to split open, revealing a staircase going down into the mountain. After descending the staircase, they came to a giant vault door. The type of vault door you would see in a bank. That's a big door, said Nana, somewhat in awe of the door. That's because it holds some big secrets, as Yashiro opened the vault door. Inside the wall were covered in high-tech safety boxes that Nana could only guess what they held. Nana followed Yashiro as he kept walking into the back of the safe and opened the box marked the END. As he opened it, Nana saw a small vial of strange liquid inside. Yashiro took a deep breath, steeling himself as he took the vial from the box along with a case for it. Please take this. Nana carefully took the vial. What is it? Poison, he answered, strong enough to kill anything, even all for one. Nana looked at the vial, then the box Yashiro grabbed it from. Why do you have this? For myself. Just in case I ever lost myself and needed to be stopped. Not going to lie, I was afraid that the years would change me and warp me into the very monster I cursed so long ago for taking the woman I loved away. Did you ever thought about using it? Of course I have. It's not as easy as it looks to watch your friends die and you get to live on hundreds of years at a time, but I made a promise to her before she died, that I wouldn't die until I found my eternal happiness, something that would truly bring happiness in my life. As he remembered the last conversation he had with Tamayo, he felt shame as he realized that he went to the old battlefield because he was actually reaching that point. Good cause. If you didn't have a good reason, I would have to give you a good slap. As she put the vial into the case and put it into her pocket. They left the vault and went back up the stairs. Nana grabbed her son as Yashiro escorted them out. Nana, if you need me to, I can watch over your son if you need me to. Nana stopped and looked at Yashiro. Where is this coming from? Well, you've helped me a lot today, and I know that with your power, All for One is most likely targeting you. You were already planning to go to the festival, weren't you? Someone already tried to take both of your lives, didn't they? Nana thought about it for a second. Thanks, but no. I already have plans for my son. Not to mention, you have already told me that you are even more of a target than my son and I. The world needs you, Yashiro, and I want my son to have a quiet life and not have to deal with any of this. I'm sorry, but I think a demon might be a little much, not to mention you need to focus on yourself. Clean yourself up and reconnect with the world. Heck, when you're ready I'll introduce you to my friend Gran Torino and my successor. You've already passed the touch. Yep, his name is Toshinori Yagi, his hero name is All Might. He'll be making some big waves in the future. Just you wait. I look forward to it. Good luck, Nana Shimura. You too, Yashiro. I hope you find your eternal happiness and good luck reconnecting with the world, as Nana left with her son Kotaro with hope in her heart and a weapon to put an end to her enemy. Yashiro returned to his home and walked down the hall as he did a picture on the wall that caught his eye. He dusted it off, revealing a group photo. He then went to the photo next to it and whipped the dust off, showing a digital recreation of an old painting of his old mentor and a woman he loved. I'm sorry. You're all dusty. I really have lost myself. Yashiro could feel the tears on his cheeks. As he did, he slapped his face. Stop it. None of them would want to see you like this. After Yashiro dried his tears, he bowed to the pictures. I'm sorry, all of you, I'm sorry. I won't lose my way again. I know a few of you would kick my ass for letting myself and my home fall apart like this. I will live and I will help the world, and before I meet any of you again I will find my happiness. He couldn't stop the tears. Oh. Present day, back into the tea room. That's how I met Nana Shimura. She saved me from myself. 5 months later she died at the hands of All for One. I vowed on her grave that I would never fall into another depression like that again, and I would continue to help the world, said Asuhiro, finishing his story. Letting both All Might and Gran Torino process the story. So you're really a demon? Asked All Might. Yashiro nodded. Why didn't Sensei tell us? She did, said Gran Torino. She told me about the demons, but I didn't believe her, and the reason she didn't tell us about Yashiro here is because that wasn't her secret to tell. She isn't someone to shout others' secrets. Though she did tell me about the poison, she even showed it to me. She even told me before I grabbed you and ran that she was going to use it. But it didn't work, said All Might. It didn't kill him. I'm sorry. I made it to kill me, and so I was sure it would do him in, said Yashiro. I think it did, said Gran Torino, coming to a realization. All Might, think back to the first time you saw him. Did he ever use any of those powerful quirks when you fought him 5 years ago? It was always painful to remember that day, but now that he thought about it, All for One never used any of the quirks he used on his master. No, he didn't. He used completely new quirks. Then it might have done something to him, said Yashiro, thinking how the poison would have worked on All for One, which put a smile on his face. I wish I was there to see that brat's face. Brat's face? Wait, how did you know him? Oh, I guess you could say I was his teacher at one point. What, said both the heroes. You were his teacher. Yashiro put a hand up to calm them down so he could speak. It was only for about a month. Back then I was trying to study quirks, and then I heard of a boy that could transfer quirks from person to person. That made him perfect as my assistant in studying quirks. He helped me with my research, and I paid for and caught him and his brother up on school. He was practically kicked out when people found out he had a quirk. Back then he was just a child who was more concerned about his brother's well-being than taking over the world. After I concluded my research, I gave them enough money and a letter of recommendation so they both could go to school and live pretty good lives. It wasn't until about a decade later when he decided to go full villain. He even tried to kill me. I did nothing to encourage such behavior. I even forced him to return all quirks during our experiments and made sure to check up on all of them afterwards, and he didn't touch a single one of them. After his first act of villainy, I helped his brother try and take him down after he was given the stockpile quirk. That's when I discovered he had the transferring quirk. Wait, you were the one that discovered the transferring quirk? Asked All Might. Of course, how else would someone have guessed that making someone eat their DNA would give them their powers? Did you really think All for One would be kind enough to give out that little nugget of information knowing full well his brother wanted to stop him? They both thought about that for a moment. That makes a lot of sense, said Gran Torino. Actually, looking back on this all is making a lot of sense. All Might put down his teacup and stood up and made a deep bow to Yoshio. Yoshiro, all of this has given me more questions, but I would like to apologize for all of my earlier actions today. If there is anything that I can do, just say the word. Yoshiro smiled at this. Good, 'cause I have a few things I would like to talk about with you. So if you could please take a seat. I told you my story, so if you wouldn't mind, I would like you to hear my request. Afterwards, I'll be more than happy to answer any more questions you have. All Might sat back down. Okay, what would you like? You're looking for a new successor, right? Yes, I was actually going to be a teacher at UA to find a worthy successor. Really, that's convenient, because I would like to not only fix you up so you can do your superhero duties longer, but I also have an idea for your quirk. How does this make teaching at UA convenient? Asked Gran Torino. As a doctor, I would like to monitor my patients, so knowing where they are and the activities they will be conducting helps, but besides that, I have a candidate for you, a person I believe who would be a good choice for One for All. You don't mean young Midoriya, do you? No, also I have a question about the school. Okay, is there something you would like to know in particular? Yoshiro took a good sip of his tea and gave the two a mischievous grin. Does UA have room for more faculty members? Oh. Inko was having a good day. Was able to pay off her bills, get some fresh food, and vet gave her cat Cha-Cha a clean bill of health. Right now she was feeding her cat and waiting for Mitsuki to come over and help her with her workout plan. When Izuku went missing, her health declined and she almost missed paying her bills. Lucky for her, she got a new landlord that was very kind and lenient with her. So when her son started to appear on TV, she, with Mitsuki's help, slowly but surely got her life back in order. So now she was financially cleared, she started eating right, and now it was time for her to start treating it right. That's when she heard a knock on the door. The door's open, Mitsuki, she shouted, but then strangely heard shuffling behind the door. Mitsuki? She then went to the door, but before she got to it, it opened. It revealed a young man that she recognized on TV. She stopped and just stared at him. He had grown so much. If she didn't see him on TV, she wouldn't have recognized him so quickly. Tears instantly began to flow from her eyes. Izuku. Hey Mom, said Izuku as he too began to cry. His mother rushed him, giving the biggest hug she could possibly give as they both began to break down into tears. I'm home. Chapter 14, Road to UA. Melissa checked the clock on her phone. It's been over half an hour, are they okay? I honestly don't know, said Yoshiro, staring at the scene. I'm actually kinda curious now how they haven't gotten dehydrated yet. Ye was also curious at the sight. How can two people cry this much? They're making a puddle on the floor. That carpet is definitely ruined, said Tomo, picking up Eri, keeping the child away from the puddle. The five of them watched in silence. At first, not ruin the reunion of a mother and her son, but said reunion has so far consisted of nothing but the two of them hugging while they cry a lot. A lot of crying. Their eyes turned into miniature geysers of rushing water. It surprised and befooled the onlookers. Hey Inko, came a voice behind the small group. A blonde-haired woman came through the door. Who are you guys? She then noticed the two crying. Inko, Izuku. For the first since they arrived, Inko acknowledged someone else's existence. Me. And Mitsuki, my boy, is home, she said through tears. Mitsuki tried not to let the scene get to her as well since she too has been waiting for this.
Right.
Yes, I can see that.
I've no clue
Remember what we
what
talked
this
about.
means.
Right. Inko slowing down the tears, but couldn't stop. You shouldn't have left, I'm sorry, as she began to tap Izuku's head. I'm sorry, Mom, said Izuku, now bowing and continuing to cry. Is she trying to scold him? Asked Yae, not understanding what's going on. I don't. No, said Melissa. I've never seen scolding like that before. Mitsuki remembering there was an audience. Wait, who are you guys? Yoshiro stepped forward. That's a bit of story. Oh. Mina Ashido was nearing the end of her run. She has been using her free period to put in some extra training for the UA exam and to try and put any doubt inside her to rest. She already got permission from her teacher to run not only around the school but also to run off campus. Many teachers saw her new determination to be a hero a worthy endeavor for some leeway on the rules. Not to mention her scores and grades went to the top of the class. She was already back on campus and made her way to the school entrance, where her two friends are waiting for her. Mina, you're back already, one of them said with clear shock in her voice. Her other friend handed her a water bottle. How are you still standing? What do you mean? Asked Mina, taking the water bottle. Mina, according to the phone tracker, you ran more than you did yesterday and you got back with 10 minutes to spare. You just ran better than some of the boys on the cross-country varsity team, she said, showing Mina the numbers on her phone. Mina looked over her running data. Well, I guess the extra work I've been putting in has paid off. I'll say, and here I thought Kirishima was the only one doing some crazy training. Kirishima? Crash. What was that? Asked one of the girls. It came from the track field, as the girls left to go check it out. When they got there, they saw a crowd of students looking at the training field. Mina forced herself through the crowd to see what was going on. As she made it to the front, she saw what all the commotion was about. Kirishima. The now red-headed spiky hair boy turned around to see the girl. Oh hey Ashido, how's it going? He said, standing in front of the remains of a giant destroyed boulder. Since when could you do something like this? She gestured to the rock. Oh yeah, I've been working on a good attack for a while now. Bakugo thought it would be a good idea if I got at least one good attack down. Bakugo, that's the guy you've been hanging around with, right? I guess he's been putting you through the ringer, she said while poking his arm. Yeah, he really doesn't hold back his punches, said Kirishima, still sore from some of the bruises that Bakugo gave him. I'm actually going to have another spare with him later after school. Really? Man, you guys are taking this whole plus ultra thing super seriously, said Mina. As the two continued to talk, the principal and vice principal were watching the two. So do you still think it was a bad idea giving those two so much freedom? Asked the vice principal. The principal was still staring at the remains of the rock. Not at all. Those two will make fine heroes. Alright everyone, your high school entrance exams are in a few days. Make sure each and every single one of you is ready for what's to come. The high school entrance exams aren't anything to laugh about. For those of you who are going to head to hero schools, make sure not only are you physically prepared but also academically prepared. Don't forget they won't let you in if you flunk your academic exam, said the teacher of Algernon Junior High. He looked at his students, making sure that most of them were paying attention, and noticed that the only one that wasn't was Bakugo. Also, I'm not doubting any of you, but make sure you have a backup school choice lined up. There is always the chance you might fail or they may not let you in because of prior history. This got Bakugo's attention and gave the teacher a mean glare, before some of the other students began to giggle. Do you extra D-listers have something to say, as his question was met with silence? No matter what you extras say, I'm still getting into UA and becoming the #1 hero. So if you have a problem with that, then grow some balls and come out and say it. Over the past few months since Izuku came out as the now popular vigilante demon slayer, some of his classmates have been taking behind his back that Izuku and the other heroes will arrest him and that he couldn't get into UA because of assault. But no one has said it to his face, and no one did anything to stop him before when he was just a useless little Deku. They're all cowards and hypocrites. Fought Bakugo, none of these extras are gonna get in my way. Squish. Bakugo heard the sound before he registered the feeling of cold on the back of his head. Bakugo slowly rubbed his hand against the back of his head, as he then looked at his hand. Snow Bakugo slowly turned and saw all the shock on his classmates' face as they looked at a girl with long black hair and 2 pigtails, and even though she put on a brave face, she was shaking. "Extra, did you throw this?" said Bakugo more in disbelief than rage. It's Yuki Suno and Juro," she said through shaking legs. "And I'm going to be a better hero than you." Bakugo and the rest of the class were silent at the girl's announcement. Bakugo had to stop himself from laughing. You're going to become a hero. Your quirk is literally Snowball. Your quirk is as useful as the kid who can pop his eyes out. Not to mention, look at yourself, if you can barely stand up to me, then there's no way you can stand up to a villain. Bakugo would have continued to insult the girl, but the school bell rang. I could go on, but I got to get to training, but hey, you can always try to become a sidekick. As Bakugo got his backpack and was halfway out the door. I'll make it to UA. This stopped Bakugo. I'll make it to UA and beat you and prove that someone like me can be a hero. One that is better than you. Bakugo eyed her for a second. Where the hell was this backbone when Deku was here? As he left the room. Even though he was only speaking to Yuki, everyone felt his words. They knew they did nothing for Izuku but made his life worse than it should have been. No one stood up for him, no one helped, none of them did what any hero would do and gave a helping hand for him. All of the students quietly got their things and began to leave the room. Except for Yuki. Yuki sat there at her desk for a moment as she pulled a small notebook out of her desk, Hero Analysis Notebook number 8 by Izuku Midoriya. She remembered how she picked this up off the ground when the teachers were cleaning out his old desk at the time when it happened. She remembered how guilty some of her classmates and teachers felt, especially when his mother Kama be a crying mess looking for her son. I'm sorry. Yuki was standing alone in the middle of the school field looking down at one of her snowballs. How can I be a hero with a quirk like this? She said to herself. You want to be a hero too? She turned to come face to face with Izuku Midoriya. Well, sorry. I just saw you standing here and well. I thought you might need some help. What? No. I'm just kind of moping about my quirk, she said, summoning a snowball. Whoa, that's incredible, can you make it bigger? Surprised by his enthusiasm, she compiled and made it bigger, to the size of a basketball. Cool, how big can you make it? The last time I tried to make one really big, I made it about the size of my bike. Izuku stared at the snowball floating in the girl's hand. It's floating. Can you make some in midair and do the big ones float too? She said yes to both. You could make snowballs to stop fires or trip criminals. If you're able to keep it from falling apart, then you can throw them, and the fastest pitch has reached over 200 km per hour. Even half that could do some damage if you need to fight in an emergency. Your quirk could help if it can keep a wound closed. Though I don't know about the last part. As he began to mutter up a storm. Yuki could barely keep up. But even so, it did help her feel better, and it gave her a few new ideas. Maybe she could be a hero. Yuki turned to see one of her friends walking at a quick pace to the duo. Oh hey there dash Yuki was unable to finish as her friend grabbed her hand and began to walk away with Yuki in hand. Hey, what's going on? Why are you pulling me? I'm helping you. This made Yuki confused and it showed on her face. You were talking to Izuku Midoriya, he's the quirkless boy in our class. Yuki had heard one of the kids in her class was quirkless, but she didn't believe, who didn't have a quirk these days. She turned to see Izuku face downcast as they walked away. He too was walking away when another boy called out to him. Bakugo and his goons began to walk towards Izuku as the two girls walked away. Just stay away from him, he's nothing more than an endless nobody with delusions of grandeur. Yuki could hear small explosions behind her but kept walking with her friend. Okay. The trip down memory lane didn't make Yuki feel any better, it just reminded her that she left someone to their fate instead of helping them. I may be able to become a hero, but do I deserve to become one?
Go outside. There you go. And put it on a shelf.
Ochako's battle cry could be heard across the dojo as she tried to land a palm strike on her sparring partner Kendo, but Itsuka Kendo had far more training than she did and was able to grab Ochako's wrist and flip her onto the floor mat. Off. Nice try there, but you got a little desperate there in the end, said Kendo holding out her hand for Ochako, who gladly took it. What was with the battle cry? She asked as she pulled Ochako up. Ochako blushed a little. Well, we're running out of time today and I really wanted to get at least one good hit in. You might not be at my level just yet, but you've come a long way in the short time you've been here. To be honest, I doubt anyone would believe you just started over 2 months ago. Really, thanks, said Ochako, remembering how she got here. Excuse me, can I speak to the instructor? She asked a man who was currently checking his bag. The man turned around and stood to his full height. Almost doubling Ochako's height, the man had orange hair and a scar on the side of his face. He was wearing a karate gi with a black belt. I'm Sayue Kendo, I own this dojo and I am the instructor. What can I do for you? Ochako had to calm herself after confronting a man who was a giant to her. I was wondering if I could join, just for a bit, and I don't have a lot of money, but Ochako's nerves were getting the better of her. Sayue was getting a little annoyed by the girl. Why do you want to join? At least tell me that much. I'm trying to get into UA, the hero school, and I need to get better. When she said the last part, her eyes steeled themselves. Sayue noticed the look. Oh, what do you mean by the last part? Well, do you know about the mall incident that happened recently? The one with Demon Slayer. He nodded. I was there. I wasn't in any real danger myself, but I saw Demon Slayer and his friends fight, and see them in person made me realize that I need to do better if I want to be a hero, and I know it's short notice and I don't have much money, but I would like to train here. Learn something that could help me. Tijuoi gave the girl a look over. She is really all that much of a fighter, but there's no doubt some fire behind those eyes. Itsuka, he shouted. Yes, Dad, said Itsuka Kendo, approaching the two. You need me to get something? Get this girl some gear. Itsuka bowed to her dad and grabbed the stunned girl and took her to the locker room. The two returned quickly with Ochako in a set of gi herself. Alright, now that you look the part, let's see what you can do. Your sparring partner is going to be my daughter here, no quirks allowed. Ready, begin. What? Said Ochako, clearly not prepared for this. She looked to see Itsuka getting into a fighting stance. Ochako tried to mimic the stance, and like a deer in headlights she stood there only for Itsuka to give her a swift kick to the stomach. Oh, sorry, I guess that was a bit much for a first time, said Itsuka. Better luck next time. She expected her father to stop the match. Hold it, said Ochako, standing up. I'm not done yet. Itsuka raised an eyebrow before resuming her stance. Itsuka dodged a sloppy punch and used it to flip Ochako and slamming her onto the mat. You done? No. Ochako slowly rolled over and stood up.
Yeah,
I need to do a lot better to become like Demon Slayer.
3 hours playing it. And
Demon Slayer? Itsuka knew of the vigilante. Does this girl want to be a hero?
Yeah, but
The fight continued for the next 20 minutes. Ituska kept sending Ochako to the mat, and each and every time she kept getting back up. Itsuka was starting to tire herself. How much can this girl take? I've stopped holding back and she keeps getting up. What is this girl made of? Ochako was getting up again and Itsuka was preparing for another bout. Enough, said Sayua, you two can stop now. Ochako looked horrified that she might have failed. But I can still keep going. That's unnecessary, you passed. Sayui almost let out a laugh at the girl's shock. I wasn't expecting you to win, I just wanted to see if you would get back up. In all honesty, after the third time I was going to stop it, but you just kept going and I'm not the only one impressed. Ochako looked around and saw that the whole dojo was looking at her. Did you see that girl was able to last that whole time against Kendo? Not even some grown adults can last that long against that little monster. She said she was trying to be a hero, right? She'll make it definitely. Ochako began to turn as red as a tomato, hearing all the compliments. So am I in. Of course, I would be crazy to turn a promising hero away, he said. You think I have promise? Itsuka put a hand on her shoulder. Oh yeah, you got guts to spare, but if you're shooting for UA we don't have much time. What's your quirk? It's zero gravity, she said, showing her fingers to the kendos. I can turn someone's or something's gravity off if I touch them with the pads on my fingers. Sayui thought for a moment. Well then, above the usual exercises we'll have you focus on palm strikes, chopping techniques, and some grapples. Okay, wait, how much will this cost? She said, feeling her near empty wallet begin to squirm. Don't worry about it. Just come by every day after school and train with Itsuka, she too is trying to get into UA. Ochako turned to Itsuka. You're trying to get into UA too? Yup, said Itsuka, let's do our best. Yeah, cheered Ochako as she became a regular at the Kendo dojo and became Itsuka's best friend. Over the next 2 months she learned basic hand-to-hand combat with a focus at hand strikes that would complement her quirk. The two got done cleaning the dojo and hit the showers. Afterwards they both were in their street clothes ready to leave. You wanted to make a run to the shoe store, right? Asked Ochako. Yeah, mine are getting worn out and having a fresh pair for the entrance exam might help. It isn't a good idea to go in with faulty equipment, said Itsuka while Ochako nodded in agreement. Let me just go tell my dad first before we go. They soon found her dad at the front desk with a small group watching the news on the TV. Pa, what's going on? It's been nearly 2 years since the American martial arts community was shaken to its core, said the female news reporter. 2 years ago, the former rising star and poster child for the American martial arts community, Jack Mukyu, disappeared amidst the controversy of his own medical reports. As of right now he is still missing, and even though many have questions, investigators haven't put out a warrant for his arrest despite damages he and his father have caused. Jack's former gym is still running but has been under constant attack from other gyms and from people in the community. Even though the owner denies any knowledge of Jack's actions, many have voiced their complaints to the gym, though without enough evidence no lawsuit is held up in court. Some want the gym to be shut down, while others hope the gym can redeem itself. For now it still holds out and the owner hasn't made any new commits since his interview last year. Ochako has been going to the dojo for a while, but she was perplexed with how serious everyone was. Who's Jack Mukyu? Itsuka was instantly angry. Jack Mukyu is a vile person who has dishonored martial arts. He won hundreds of tournaments around America and challenged fighters all over the world. I almost had a chance to fight him myself. Later it was revealed that he lied about his quirk and used drugs to win his matches. He had been cheating the whole time and his dad was able to make sure no one found out. Hell, I'd bet all my money his gym helped out too. Itsuka, yelled her father, getting her attention, before he spoke calmly. I know you hate the boy and I won't deny I too hold some contempt for the boy as well, but you should not blame the whole for the actions of the few. I don't know Hector Guerrero as well as others, but I know him well enough to know that he wouldn't allow any drug usage in his gym. He's an honorable man and he shouldn't be punished for actions that weren't his. Yes, father, she said, a little ashamed of herself. I'm sorry. It's fine, now you two look like you're ready to head out. Yes sir, said Ochako, glad the subject moved on. We wanted to go get new shoes for the exam. Sayue nodded to the girls and told his daughter that he would see her at home. As they left, Itsuka took one last look at the TV screen. If I ever get the chance I will beat you, Jack, she thought. I will show what a real martial artist is. Oh. Mitsuki took a long sip of her tea. Okay, so let me get this straight. You are a 200-year-old man that lives on a mountain and is a government secret because you're also the world's best doctor, and one of your old friends found Izuku and brought him to you where not only did you fix his broken rib but also found out he had a quirk, and the only reason no one knew was because of a birth defect and because no one checked his lungs. Am I on the right track so far? Yep, said Yushiro as he sipped some tea that Tomo was serving. It took Emitsuki a few minutes, but she managed to stop the Midoriyas from crying. Tomo got permission from Inko to brew some tea while the others sat down and explained who they were and how they knew Izuku. It was mainly Yushiro talking while Melissa and Ye put in a word here and there, while Eri played with Cha-Cha the cat. Mitsuki had a hard time believing all of this, but she couldn't deny that there was something about the person in front of her that made her believe him. Though she was still a bit skeptical about all of it, she kind of had to be. She was happy Izuku returned to Inko, but she should be a little bit worried about her son Sensei. You're also a government secret. Oh yeah, which is why if you tell people about me I'll have you killed, causing her and Inko to look at him in fear. I'm kidding. Really? Mitsuki said, giving him a tired look. Okay, getting back on track. So you kept Izuku there on your mountain? I didn't kidnap him, he was my patient. I originally wanted him to stay so I could make sure his ribs would heal, and once I told him his lungs held his quirk, he tried to activate it and almost burned himself. At that point he almost burned or drowned in his sleep because he can't feel his lungs. What was I supposed to do, let him go home and burn down his apartment in his sleep? You should have at least told his mother about this, she said bitterly. Yushiro turned and gave Izuku a critical stare. Izuku, would you mind explaining that one? Izuku shifted in his seat next to his mother. I said I would contact my mom, and every time I tried I got too scared to make the phone call or send the message. When I first woke up on the mountain 4 days had already passed and I didn't know how I should explain it, and the more days that went by the more scared and ashamed I became, and when Yushiro-sensei found out he gave me a deadline to come home. Inko couldn't say anything and just hugged her son, trying to keep the tears down. Though Mitsuki wasn't satisfied. Okay, when you found out Izuku hadn't contacted Inko, why didn't you just drag him back yourself? I will admit some of that is my fault. One problem with my power is that my sense of time is different than others. Other than that, I had originally intended to remain a secret to the world. Because of that I wanted Izuku to handle all of this, but because of recent events I've decided to return to society. Society? Why were you in hiding in the first place? Yoshiro's eyes darkened. Do you know about the early days of quirks? Surely you've heard about it in history class. Mitsuki flashed back to her days in high school, hearing about the riots and the lynch mobs and the complete segregation of people with quirks. Oh, her eyes widened with realization. You lived through that. Yes,
'Cause if
yes
you
I did,
do, you're
as he
gonna
took
need
another
some,
sip of his tea.
protection.
Though years have gone by and I hope to return to the world, hopefully I can help more now than I did back in the day. Well, you have helped out my son, said Inko, and I thank you for that, but I can't deny a part of me wants to scream at you for keeping my son. Though I too have to take the blame for that one. When the doctor told me that my son was quirkless, I didn't believe he could follow his dreams and I didn't help him, so I thank you for helping him. You helped prove not only to me but the whole world that he could be a hero. Yoshiro felt a bit of relief at the statement. Thank you, Mrs. Midoriya, though I would like to personally apologize for everything that has happened. How have you been holding up with all of this? I won't lie, it was hard living without Izuku. If it wasn't for Mitsuki, I don't think I could have made it. She smiled at her friend. Though I think I just got lucky all around. I got a lot of money from tax refunds. Cha-Cha showed up and I was no longer lonely, and I got a new landlord who was very nice and even worked with me on paying off the apartment. After that I found out all my old debts disappear like magic. I think I have a guardian angel watching over us. The teenagers looked at Yoshiro, who in turn tried to look away. Tomo began to giggle at her master's actions. Well, I can tell it wasn't a cakewalk for Izuku either, said Tomo. Master put him through the ringer and he too felt quite bad for not telling you or seeing you. I don't know if he'll say it, he did miss you, he even cried a few times. Tomo, said Izuku, getting embarrassed. Inko couldn't help but smile at her son's embarrassment. It's good to see not everything has changed. I thank you all for looking after my son and I thank you for being his friends.
It's not too difficult to fair.
Don't mention it, he's a good sparring partner, said Ye. Yeah, I don't think I could have gotten as far as I have with my quirk without him. He's quite incredible, said Melissa, causing Izuku to blush at the compliments. So are you going to try and get into UA as well, asked Inko, trying to learn more about the girls. Yep, said Melissa, we are going to make it to the hero course. The three of us are going to show those guys what real heroes look like, said Ye, puffing out her chest. Mitsuki saw the three interactions with each other before whistling. Not bad, Izuku, way to be a man. What do you mean? He asked. Mitsuki gave a devilish grin. Hey, which one of you is dating Izuku? Both Ye and Melissa spit out their tea out so loud it scared the cat. DD. DDD, we're friends, I'm Izuku, said Melissa as she turned red and became a muttering mess. Ye just froze like a deer in headlights. One could have mistaken her for a statue. Eri climbed up the couch and began to poke Ye, who wasn't moving or showing any signs of registering anything. I think Ye's broken. Yoshiro, Tomo, and Mitsuki couldn't contain their laughter. Izuku turned to his mother, hoping to calm her down, but there was no need as she began to smile. Grandbabies. Mo-em. Oh. Are you ready, granddaughter? The UA exam is only a few days away, said an elderly man who had a gray beard and a full set of gray hair. Do not worry, grandfather, I'm more than ready for their little hero exam, said a teenage girl with long blonde hair who was wearing a skin-tight suit with a utility belt with various tools and with mechanical bracers on her wrist and forearms. I will show them the skill, beauty, and the flamboyance of the Uzui clan, as she struck a pose. Yes, my granddaughter, he said while also striking a pose. Show them the power of a clan that has lasted hundreds of generations. Show them the power of a shinobi. Don't worry, grandfather, they will all weep at the beauty of my sound. Oh. Deep in the mountains in a far-off land. Several men couldn't believe the sight in front of them. There's no way, that kid beat them all and he looks no older than 14. How though, I recognize some of those guys. There are fighters and heroes from other countries. How did this kid beat them? He fought like a demon. I've never seen a quirk like that before. But those are pros. How did a quirk like his get the better of him? It's the result of his training, said a deep voice coming from a big buff elderly man with a white beard. He walked casually through the unconscious bodies that littered the ground of the battlefield. In the center of the field was a teenage boy covered in blood, some his own and some of it from his opponents. He wore an open red vest and white martial art pants, with 3 black rings on his arms. Even though the boy was almost too tired to stay standing, he turned to the elder man. "Do not worry, boy, you do not need to speak. You've done well, you were able to take out over 40 of them before you had to use your powers. As a final test, you did excellent and just in time too. You're ready, it's time to head to Japan." The boy couldn't help but smile. Demon Slayer. Chapter 15, UA Exam. Nina Guerrero has had a long day. She had just gotten done with her US history homework and taken a shower. She was sitting at her desk double-checking her homework, making sure she was satisfied with her answers. She looked at the clock and noticed how late it was. Dad's late again, someone must have tried to vandalize the gym again. She looked at a single photo on her desk that showed her father Hector Guerrero and her best friend since childhood Jack Mukyu in front of her family's gym. "Jack, I know you had to leave, but I wish you were here," she said to no one as she was on the verge of tears. Her phone began to ring. Without looking at the caller ID, she answered. "Hello. Ni hao. What I think you have the wrong number. Gomen nasai, I mean. Sorry, Nina." Nina couldn't breathe as she recognized the voice. She tried to keep her voice from shaking. Jack. "Hey Nina, it's good to hear your voice again." Jack, inhale. "Where have you been? Do you have any idea how many times I tried to call you? I had my phone off when I started my training, and when finally did it said I had 99 plus missed calls from you. So sorry about that. Where are you? Are you okay?" "I'm fine, how are things over there? How's your dad doing?" "He's fine. He's holding the gym together. We're starting to get new gym members and the vandalism is slowing down," she said as she heard Jack breathing get heavy at the news. "Jack, they burnt your house down." Nina silently waited for his response. "I know. I tried to catch up with all the news on my plane flight." "How's my mom doing?" "I don't know exactly, but she wasn't in the fire. She's currently staying with your aunt." "That's good. I know my aunt will take care of her." You missed your dad's trial." For a minute she didn't get a response and only heard his breathing. She continued. "He was sentenced to 20 years. How are you doing?" he asked, trying to change the subject. "I'm doing all right. My friends at school have been trying to convince me to get a boyfriend." "That's good." "That's good. How is that good, Jack? I still care about you so much. I miss you," as she began to cry. "I don't care about what happened or about what the doctor said about your quirk, I mean. I know. Which is why I came to say goodbye. I've caused you and your family too many problems, and I can't guarantee that it will get better anytime soon, so it will be best if we went our separate ways." Jack, she wanted to say, but she couldn't as she began to choke on her tears. "I know, Nina, I love you. You were my first love, and I hope one day you'll find someone special. Tell your dad I wish him well and tell him I failed to keep my promise again." Those were his final words before he hung up the phone. Nina cried herself to sleep right there at her desk that night. Oh. Jack stared at his phone for a moment as silent tears flowed from his eyes. He gave an agonizing scream as he threw the phone as hard as he could into the ocean. All of his bone-breaking training was nothing compared to what he just did. You know you shouldn't litter. Jack turned to see his teacher. I heard some kids just got done cleaning this beach. It would be a shame if we ruined their good efforts. Sorry, sir. I'm sorry, even though you both are young, I can only imagine how hard that was for you to do, but I do think it was for the best. If your plan fails, then it could cause more problems, and I know for a fact you wouldn't want her to shoulder those problems. Not to mention, even if it works, you still might not be able to go back to America. Though that isn't important right now, it's time. Yes, Sensei, it's time for the UA entrance exam. Alright Mom, we're heading out, said Izuku as he, Melissa and Ye were about to go and take the UA entrance exam. Okay, good luck you three, said Inko. I'll make sure to have a big dinner when you return. Good luck you guys, said Eri holding Cha-Cha. She was still sad she couldn't go, but she wanted to be supportive. Melissa could tell she was still down. Eri, you'll be good to Mrs. Midoriya, right? The younger girl nodded and smiled. Don't worry, Mr. Yushiro and Tomo should be done with their meeting and have dinner with us. What was that meeting about anyway? Asked Ye. They didn't say, said Izuku. We can ask when we see them next. Come on, we should be heading out before it gets too late, as he and his friends left for UA High. Oh. Kendo, said Ochako, running up to her friend. Hey Ochako, you ready? Asked Kendo as they turned towards the entrance of UA. I hope I am, she said with a nervous smile. Don't worry, you'll do just fine, said Kendo, patting her friend on the back. You're right, I can do this, she said, taking a few steps forward only for her foot to trip over a loose brick. Or maybe I'll just fall, she thought before someone caught her arm. Ha! Careful, I heard falling before a test is bad luck. Ochako looked up to see her hero. Demon Slayer. Oh hey Miss Uraraka. How have you been? Asked Izuku. He remembers me, she cried in her head. Hey Izuku, who's this, a friend of yours? Asked Ye. Melissa took a step forward and took a closer look at Ochako. Oh, I know you, you're the girl from the mall. They would have continued the conversation, but due to their arrival they began to draw a crowd as everyone wanted to take a pic at the great Demon Slayer and his friends. Whoa, it's really him. Demon Slayer here. Is he going to try and get into UA? If he is, then he's getting in for sure. Lucky bastard, he already has 4 girls. They heard that one, especially Kendo. Excuse me, who said that? Before they could calm her down, Izuku heard someone familiar. Deku. Izuku turned around to see one Katsuki Bakugo glaring at him. They both eyed each other for a moment. Kachin. So you're back, what are you doing here? I came to take the UA entrance exam. I told you for years I'm going to go to UA and I'm going to be a hero, he said with no doubt in his voice. He was going to hold his ground. Bakugo saw that and walked up to Izuku and grabbed his collar. Don't you dare forget Deku, I'm the one that's going to be the #1 hero, your 15 minutes of fame are over. Understand. Ye reached for her rifle on her back. Who the hell is this? Wait, Izuku seems to know this guy, maybe we should let him handle this, said Melissa, not wanting to make things worse. Kendo agreed with Melissa on this one, but she saw shock on Ochako's face. Hey, don't worry, I'm pretty sure your Demon Slayer can handle this hothead. Kendo, said Ochako, pointing past the two. Kendo then saw what Ochako was surprised about. What the hell is he doing here? Izuku and Bakugo felt a hand on their shoulders. Now. How about we calm down here for a moment? It would be bad if we got in trouble before even starting the test, said Jack Mikyu with a smile. Who the hell is this? Thought Bakugo, and what the fuck is up with his grip? He's barely taller than me and his hand feels like that of a giant. So this is the one Sensei Yashiro was talking about, thought Izuku. He wasn't joking around. They both could tell he's strong. Bakugo let go of Midoriya. Could you see it's better if we focus our efforts on the test now and then we can test our skills against each other when we make it into the school. I'm Jack, by the way, and you must be the famous demon slayer I've been hearing about. Izuku nodded in confirmation. And you are? The name's Bakugo and I'm the next number 1, said Bakugo, brushing off Jack's hand. So stay out of my way, he said as he began to walk off. You should save some of that fight for later, said Jack, stopping Bakugo. You got some stiff competition. Present company aside, if you haven't already heard, the number 2 hero's son passed the recommendation test. Bakugo gave Jack a mean grin. Doesn't matter, he'll just have to bow down along with the other rejects, as he walked off to the exam hall. Interesting, said Jack, amused. What was up with that guy, said Melissa. I don't know, but it looked like he deserved a punch to the face, said Ye. Might knock some sense into him. Well, we shouldn't waste our time out here either, said Jack. Come on, we should head inside as well. Before he could make it to the steps, someone with a large tail got in his way, clearly trying to stop him. Can I help you? You shouldn't be here? And you are? Mashireo Ojiro, I've spent my life studying the martial arts, and a dishonorable villain such as yourself doesn't belong here, said Ojiro as he took a fight stance intending on stopping Jack. Jack sighed. He was expecting something like this would happen. Are you by chance a teacher or a faculty member of UA? That doesn't matter. If you think we're just going to let you walk in there, then you have another thing coming, said Kendo, blocking his rear. Wait, you're... Stop, we shouted Izuku. Look, I don't know what's going on here, but now is not the time. Jack's right, we have a test to take and we have no say on who gets in and who doesn't. The most we can do is inform the teachers after the test. For right now we have to let him through. Even though Izuku was making sense, Ojiro and Kendo seemed hesitant to let the guy through. Come on, we will only be hurting our own chances if we don't, and I promise you too, if he does anything then I will stop him. That seemed to do the trick as Ojiro relaxed his stance and stepped aside. Hey Jack, said Kendo, I got my eye on you. Jack smirked at the comment. Come on, we should get going before we're late. Oh. The hall was packed with kids, all of them Izuku's age. They were all separated by school, it seemed, so no one could make plans and work together. Even Izuku and his friends were each put into separate areas. Though Izuku did spot Kirishima and the pink girl he had saved. They waved at him and he waved back. Up behind Izuku near the back of the hall was Yuki, seated nervously, wondering if she'll get a chance to talk with him. All right, listeners. Welcome one and all to my live show. Can I get an OH? Yeah, said the loudmouth hero present Mike, though he didn't receive a single response. Wow, what tough crowd. Well then let's get on with explaining the test then, as the screen behind him changed. Now let's get into it. Each of you will be dropped off into 7 different replica city districts. In those cities will be 3 different type of mock villains. Use your individual quirks to take down as many villains as you can, and the goal is rack up the highest score. Oh, and don't even think about attacking other competitors, cause that's against the rules. The rules seemed pretty straightforward, well, for most anyway. Excuse me, said a boy in glasses as he stood up from his seat. On the handout there are clearly 4 different types of villains. Such an error would be an embarrassment for a school such as UA. Moreover, he then turned and pointed at Izuku. Vigilantes or lawbreakers, they don't belong here, much less be humored enough to sit among us. Melissa couldn't deny that the boy in glasses ticked her off a little. Ye was using all her will not to stand up and shout back. Izuku simply smiled and waved back to the boy. which seemed to rile the boy even more. "Why you? Are you making fun of me?" "Okay, calm down," said President Mike before Izuku could say a word. "We here at UA get to decide who takes the test and who doesn't, okay? As for the fourth villain type, well, that's more of an obstacle that you need to avoid. Now that's enough from, now all of you go out there and give it a good plus ultra." "Alright, it looks like it's here where we split up," said Izuku as they made it to the bus stop where each group would be taken to their designated testing area. Ye gave them a thumbs up. "You two better show these grunts how it's done." "Yep, good luck you guys," said Melissa as they split up to their buses. "Alright Ochako, you've been training for this for the past few months, you got this," said Kendo as Ochako nodded back with a serious look on her face. "And I don't want you to lose your head in the clouds just because you're in the same testing area as him." Kendo. "Hey, I'm just saying focus on the test now, get his digits later." Ochako began to blush like mad before she saw someone enter one of the buses. What about him?" Kendo turned to see Jack, who gave her a quick look before he stepped on his own bus. "We're not in the same testing area, so I can't follow him if he cheats, but I do plan on having a word with him eventually." "That's for later though, hurry up and get to the bus." "Okay, good luck on your test." "You too," as they both departed ways. "Hey Demon Slayer." Izuku turned to see Kirishima and the pink girl running towards him. "Hey dude, wait a minute." "Oh hey Kirishima," said Izuku, "are you two on the same bus as me?" Well no, but I wanted to introduce you to Mina Ashido, a friend of mine from my middle school. You kind of saved her life." "Yeah, I remember the day we met. She was one of the 3 girls that almost got crushed by the rubble." "Yeah, I was," said Mina. "I just wanted to thank you. I don't know if I'll pass this test and I don't know whether I would see you again, so I just wanted to say thanks." Don't say that," said Kirishima. "All of us are going to pass and we're going to go to UA together." "Kirishima is right. All of us are going to pass this exam," said Izuku, putting his fist out. Kirishima then tapped his fist with Izuku and then Mina followed suit. "Yeah, we are going to pass this test," yelled Mina. "Come on Kirishima, we should get to our buses." "Right, we'll see you after the test," said Kirishima as he ran off. "Yep, see you after the test," said Izuku, waving them off. As Mina was running to her bus, she accidentally bumped into a girl. "Oh sorry," then she saw the bus was about to take off. Come on," she said as she grabbed the girl's arm. "Wait, I just need a minute to dash," but Yuki's request fell on deaf ears as she was dragged away to the bus. "Oh. And here is the monitoring room where we will be supervising the test," said All Might, leading Yashiro, Tomo, and Gran Torino inside. There you are," said Principal Nizu. "I was getting worried that you had gotten lost." "Oh, sorry about Principal Nizu," said All Might in his skinny form. "I guess my tour took a little longer than expected." "It's alright Toshinori, we are going to need to know the lay of the land anyway," said Yashiro, "though I think it would be a wise idea if you introduce us to the other teachers." "That's a start, and how about you also tell us how in the world you know who All Might is," said Shota Aizawa. "I thought that was supposed to be a secret among the staff." "Oh, it is," said the principal. "Allow me to introduce our 2 new faculty members and reintroduce an old one. This is the pro hero Gran Torino. He was a teacher here several years ago and will be joining us as a teacher once more." "Yep, because I totally wanted to come back and teach a bunch of snot-nosed brats," said Torino, clearly not happy that his punishment was to help UA by returning as a teacher. "We had a deal, remember," said Yashiro, reminding him and All Might that they need to give Yashiro legitimacy, and also to convince Nizu to let them join. The mouse was quite firm about not letting them join at first, but Yashiro decided to tell the principal the truth, especially after the quirked creature got a name. He had already done enough digging to find out that Yashiro was hundreds of years old. Yashiro was impressed, and when they told him the full story he laughed and said that he knew humans had their demons. Yashiro also learned that Nizu hadn't completely forgiven the people who experimented on him. Yashiro could relate. After he retold the first time someone tried to experiment on him, they became good friends, especially because they could keep up with their complicated conversations. "Oh, who is this little boy?" said Midnight, licker her lips, "he has quite the tongue." Midnight don't warn Toshinori. "This is Yashiro and his assistant Tomo. They will be joining us as faculty members here at UA, said Nizu, shocking the rest of the staff. Sir, the girl looks old enough to work here, said Cementos, but the boy looks way too young to work here, and what qualifies either of them for the positions? Relax, Cementos, said Midnight, they both look adorable, and let me guess you're some child genius that wants to help the grown-ups. She tried to reach for his head to pat it, but Yashiro was having none of it. Don't even think about it, he said as he swatted her hand away. Oh my, this one has some bite, said Midnight as her face grew a sadistic grin. I can't wait to properly re-educate boys like yourself. Yashiro raised an eyebrow. Since when are prostitutes allowed to work at a school? This comment was received with dead silence. Prostitute, I'm the R-rated hero Midnight, she said, taking out her whip and pulling it tight. It looks like you'll need some immediate re-education. R-rated hero, what the hell is this? Looking at the principal as if he just witnessed someone grow a second head. Midnight had vein pop on her head by that reaction. Before she could say a word, Tomo stepped in front of her. I suggest you stop now, whore. Before you do something you'll regret. Whore. Midnight was now shaking with rage, and the other teachers were now trying to calm down the situation and separating the two. Calm down, Tomo, we don't want to be making enemies on our first day, said Yashiro, now realizing that things might have changed in the past few years and that he might have started on the wrong foot. Some things are probably more acceptable now than they were back in my day. Back in your day? How old are you, kid? Asked Aizawa. 223, soon to be 224 years old, said Yashiro with a straight face. Most of the teachers thought at first that this must have been a joke until Nizu spoke up. What Yashiro says is true. He's currently the oldest man in the world, and he's also the one that trained the vigilante known as Demon Slayer. Now that caught everyone by surprise. They all have heard of Demon Slayer, in fact some of them have even tried catching him, but with no success. Aizawa almost couldn't believe it, but he had known Nizu long enough to know that he wouldn't lie like this. What Principal Nizu is true, Yashiro has been teaching for years, and with his experience I think he's way overqualified for the job, said Toshinori, backing up Yashiro and holding his end of the deal. Gran Torino knew that he and All Might were getting off easy. Right now all they had to do was convince the other teachers that he and Yashiro have known each other for a long time. The brat's right, I've known Yashiro longer than a lot of you have been alive. He's your senior, so I suggest you kids show him some respect. Wait, then why haven't I heard of you and why are you here? Said Aizawa, growing a little skeptical of all of this. Hey, I hate to interrupt, but all the buses have arrived at their designated city areas, said Ectoplasm, pointing at the monitors. We can go into further detail later, said Yashiro. Right now the future students of UA need us. He's right, President Mike. When you see that each group seems ready, begin the exam, said Nizu. You got it. Oh. The group Izuku was in gave him a wide berth, creating a circle around Izuku. Some of them were a little nervous that they were in the same group as Demon Slayer. They were hoping that he wouldn't take all the points. Though Izuku didn't mind it. It gave him a chance to think for a moment, because he couldn't deny he was somewhat nervous himself, but not enough to show it. Ochako was the only one brave enough to stand next to him, but she was nervous. She kept trying to use every technique she knew to calm herself, but they had little effect. Hey, it's okay, said Izuku, giving her a warm sunny smile. I'm sure you're going to do great. Ochako could practically hear her heart melt, but the boy in glasses was far louder. What do you think you're doing? He said, walking up to the two. Miss, you shouldn't talk to this criminal. He has violated the law several times and should be arrested. Demon Slayer, I don't care how good your intentions were, but you broke the law, and the rules that we live by, and as aspiring heroes those are the rules we try to uphold. You should be ashamed of yourself. The crowd couldn't tell if the guy was an idiot or ballsy as hell. They all sat there gobsmacked waiting for something to happen. Some thought this guy was about to get his ass handed to him, while others wanted to go to Izuku's defense. Though all of them stopped when they heard Izuku begin to laugh. He laughed as if someone just told him a good joke. You're a pretty stand-up guy, aren't ya? You'll make a good hero. What? But, you still don't know anything at all. What are you talking about? Don't worry. I'm not there yet myself, I'm just a few steps ahead. That's all, said Izuku, leaving many in the crowd confused by what he meant. Gugba shouted present mic over the speaker. There's no countdown in the real world. Goo. By the time everyone registered what present mic was saying, the city gates were open and Izuku and Ochako were already making their way down the street. The rest of them quickly followed, hoping to not fall too behind. Yashiro watched from the monitoring room as Izuku made quick work of 3 robots, but what surprised Yashiro was the fact that he was going after villains less than expected. Izuku was spending most of the time saving others and giving out advice. In a way, it was more of a hero thing to do than just destroying robots, but Yashiro already expected that would be the case. After thinking about it, it was obvious that that's what they were looking for. Though that didn't mean the others weren't doing well. Both Ye and Melissa had gathered a lot more points than the other. Ye was taking down every robot in sight, making sure each shot counted and that they exploded safely away from the other kids. Melissa was doing the same. With the way she was doing it was extremely hard to tell that she began her training 5 months ago. Even the other kids that Izuku knew were doing well. Bakugo was easily taking out more robots than anyone else. Mina Ashido was sliding around the city and using her acid to stop each robot. She might not get a full villain point but would definitely get a support point. Kirishima was moving far quickly and was getting quite a few points himself. There was clearly a bit more to his hardening quirk than meets the eyes. All in all, Yashiro would have to call this test a failure. He was quite disappointed that this was the hero test for the great UA. It clearly gave those with flashy power quirks more of an advantage than those with more subtle quirks. It also didn't give those who were clearly showing more heroic actions than a lot of the muscleheads that are clearly trying to get in for the glory. If you don't mind me asking, what are you writing down there? Asked Snipe, seeing that Yashiro was writing and watching at the same time. Which some of the teachers thought was quite impressive. I know this is my first time here and I won't beat around the bush, but this test is a bit pathetic. It clearly favors those with powerful and flashy quirk, said Yashiro, causing some of the teachers to smirk in agreement. I guess there's more to this test, rescue and support point, and I'm sure that some of you put your own 2 cents on who gets in or not, but this still is in the favor of more power quirks than those with subtle quirks or those that only work on people and not robots. I couldn't agree more, said Nizu. To be honest, I was hoping you could help me convince the board to change the test, earning an eyebrow raise from Yashiro. I'm afraid to inform you that we don't get to make the test. The test is decided by the Safety Commission and the school board, also by the government testing standards. Yashiro couldn't help but sigh. Well, looks like I'm going to need to call in a few favors. That would be greatly appreciated. Is that what you're writing down? Changes you think that would be beneficial? No, something else. I'm going to need to ask you a favor once this is all over, sighed Yashiro before one of the monitors beeped. What is that? It looks like we're in the final stretch. It's time to release the zeros. Oh. That's another 3 points, I should be around 60 points, said Izuku. That should be enough. He then saw several robots fall from the sky. Okay, that should be about 40 I think, said Ochako, counting the wrecks. Is that one a 2-pointer or a 3-pointer? You seem to be doing good, Miss Uraraka. Ochako blushed at the compliment. Demon Slayer. Please call me Izuku. You seem to have gotten some training done since the mall incident. You were the first one to run inside after me. Yeah, I learned from the mall incident that hesitating could be bad, and my sensei thinks that's a good idea, she said, trying to keep calm. Before she could keep the conversation going, the ground began to rumble. What the? An earthquake? No, it's something else, as they saw a giant robot appeared behind the city that was larger than most buildings. The second most students saw the robot, they turned tails and ran. Even Izuku thought for a moment to do so, but he knew that if this thing fell it would hurt a lot of other people. Of all the crazy things they could do, this is what they came up with. Ochako, your quirk takes away something's gravity, right? Well, yeah, that's how my quirk works. Why do you have an idea? Take away my gravity. I'm going to take that thing out in one go. Ochako got his idea and touched his back, taking his gravity away. Izuku could feel himself getting lighter. Alright, here I go. Izuku took a deep breath before taking off into the sky high above the robot. Whoa, so this is how high I could jump with no gravity. He's surprised. Izuku held his blade in front of him and prepared his attack. Wait, I can come up with my own moves, said Izuku while training with Yashiro. Of course you can, the breathing techniques were made to help kill demons, and that isn't exactly what a hero does, not to mention there aren't really any demons left to use those techniques on. So you're okay with me changing and making my own techniques? Certainly, just because there's no need for the killing techniques doesn't mean that they're useless, it just means that they need to change with the times. I have no problems with you changing anything. In fact, I'm curious to see your own breathing technique, one that shows that you are a hero. I'm not there yet, but this is my first step forward to my own style. Breath of the sun, failing rays, as Izuku made a downward slash that looked like a failing ray of sunlight that split the giant robot right down the middle in two. Everyone on the ground watched in awe at the feat. Izuku had to use cloud walk to land safely. Though when he landed he fell to his knee. Ochako went to check on him. Izuku, are you okay? Yeah, said Izuku through heavy breathing, I just haven't used that move on such a large scale, not going to lie, I think my lungs are a little burnt. It's hard to tell. Your hands, said Ochako, pointing at Izuku's burnt hands. Are you going to be alright? Oh yeah, I know the best doctor, he said, slowly standing and checking his hands. Yeah. I definitely need to practice that move a lot more. The monitoring room was buzzing at the sight of Izuku taking down the 0-pointer. Nizu was jumping on his chair, Tomo was clapping, and Yashiro was smiling at the sight. That kid just took down the 0-pointer, said Aizawa. Just how powerful is this kid? He ain't the only one. Take a look, said Snipe as he brought up the image onto the screen, showing Ye charging up a shot and blowing a hole straight through her 0-pointer. Go Melissa, said All Might, looking at a different arena where Melissa was running up the robot's arm and punching the robot in the head, making it fall. I don't think we've ever had 3 kids take down 0-pointers in a single year, said Cementos. Make that 4, look, said Midnight, showing Bakugo flying through the air before spinning in a spiral and blowing through the 0-pointer. What's with the kids this year, said Aizawa, checking the other area. It looks like that's it. No, said All Might. There's going to be one more. Oh. Ibara Shiozaki saw the giant robot in her testing ground appear and like a majority of the other kids turned and ran away, but as she was running she saw a boy running towards the robot. "What is he doing? Is he crazy?" she said as she saw him running towards the robot. "Ano is an aspiring hero, I should go and help him," as she turned around to help him. As she did she lost sight of him, and when she looked up at the robot was still there, before something slammed into it from above. It created a shockwave that caused Ibara to fall over onto the ground. When she got up and dusted herself off, she saw that the robot was reduced to a scrap heap. Ibara went closer to see if she could find the boy. She found him standing tall on top of the mountain of scrap, holding 3 of his arm rings in his left hand that also had 3 arm rings around it. He was looking at his bare right arm, that looked like it was covered in soot. "Damn," said Jack, "I was hoping I could pass without having to use this. Looks like I still have a ways to go."